Traveling has never been this simple in the Gambia. Oh yes, you don't need to visit the GTSC depot just to get a ticket. Just download the Yona Wallet app today and enjoy hassle-free bookings. With Yona Wallet, you can buy your GTSC bus ticket right from your phone, anytime, anywhere. From Kanifing to Dakar, Dakar to Banjul, or up-country routes like Kanifing to Basse and Basse to Banjul, Yona Wallet has you covered. No queues, no stress. Just safe, fast, and convenient ticketing at your fingertips. Choose comfort. Choose convenience. Choose GTSC with Yona Wallet. Yona Wallet. Your money, your way. GTSC. Moving the nation forward. For more information, please call 1124 or 221-1668.
Jamano Money Transfer Bureau de Change, your go-to option when it comes to money transfer. With Jamano, you can send money from anywhere in the world to your family and loved ones in the Gambia and be sure the funds will be delivered to them within the shortest time possible. For your convenience, funds sent through Jamano Money Transfer can be picked from all the banks and multiple other financial institutions, including Ajib Bank, Trust Bank, GT Bank, Mega Bank, Basic Bank, Reliance Financial Services, and Approved Services. Visit our head office at Bruceby opposite AfricMed next to Trust Bank Limited or email us at info@jamanomt.com. You can as well call us on 310-3050 or 310-3051 or yet still 733-0688. Our opening hours are 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Monday to Saturday and 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. on Sunday. Jamano Money Transfer, your most trusted money transfer service where customer satisfaction is paramount. When you think of a simple, fast, and reliable money transfer, think Jamano Money Transfer.
I get it. Albaka.
Mbaka important.
Yo, nga transfer la sto.
Ya transfer la sto.
Ha, code nyenje.
Okay. Nsila ID soto.
Sa soto. Sorry. I get it.
Bijan bro.
Albaka.
Mbaka.
Bara alla service o tariaka.
Mbale.
Mo ki janna nun kunu bara tariaka.
Jannom yona forest de bureau. Gambia tonkon na no mbali ya bere. Birim koyna fo kato.
Bari si kodo kino kato ni fo bolong blabe ko.
56 branches mola soto Gambia jam.
Ha?
Gambia kono anin Gambia bantala bankol. Nka kodo kiya bere. Kodo sifa fo falindiro fo nyaadi lafta memmen na kodi to poto nin kodi maraw. Jannam number 1 di nyonta. Andum fana nata anoda enterprise sotale. Wolam nyindi ko domorol fana kol fana be firale de dadi man domorol ni fana beteat. Gambia dawda yalo ngam fa kendol sotale je.
Wo moyo diat.
Apelenta
ni wo ka ni lafta nyelen kendol e bina.
Yalo bu kanyi la ko la baraka ba.
Yalo ndel chosano lo.
Abaraka.
Jah Oil is Gambia's leading dealer when it comes to fuel and has made it a duty to satisfy our customers at all costs. Vehicle owners and drivers need not to worry about getting quality and affordable fuel anymore. That is the reason we have our branches spread all over the country for easy access. For good and clean fuel, the only place to go is Jah Oil. Your need for good and durable petrol, gasoline and kerosene has been covered by Jah Oil, so you need not to worry. Walk to any of our branches and get served to satisfaction. With Jah Oil, your satisfaction is our priority. That is why we have branches at your doorstep to make accessibility easy for you. With our professional and friendly staff, we can assure you satisfaction. To get the best fuel for your engines, the only place to go is Jah Oil. With Jah Oil, it's all enjoyment. That is why we are offering you low charges at our stations on the Coastal Road and Banjul. For more information, you can call 770-8080, 322-9070, 714-7273, or 387-1321. Ja Oil, the pride of the nation.
To this special 61st Independence Anniversary coverage on Ketfatu Live. I'm Lamin Cham, and with me is Lamin Juara, a graduate research assistant at the University of the Gambia. And in the next hour or so, until we join the celebration at the McCarthy Square, we will attempt to reflect on the Gambia's journey from 1965 to death. Now, this one is particularly important because it has some spiritual connotations, if you like. People have already made a point that for the first time this year, perhaps, the Ramadan and Lent for Christians and Muslims, respectively, also began on Independence Day. So whatever the importance, whatever that means, but people have said that is a moment that everybody should cherish, and to say the least, it signals that we are, and reflects and demonstrates that we should live harmoniously as Christians and Muslims, even more importantly than before, even more strongly than before. Okay, that's another component of today's celebrations. All of us are fasting, if you like, Christians and Muslims, and they all began the fasting on the same day, that is today, which falls on Independence Day. So people don't want to miss that coincidence, and they think, together it could mean that our country, which have always been a peaceful country, will be peaceful even evermore. But 61, well, arguably a country or somebody who is 61 years old, should be somebody who have come of age and have probably gathered a lot of experience of survival, and of course there may be enough chapters in that history of trials and tribulations. And as a nation, when we reflect on 61 years, I think it is important that we sit back and see what could have been done better, or where do we excel, and what the future should mean for a country like this. You are a lot younger than me, but I'm sure through your academic life, you must have studied, researched, and gathered a lot on Gambia's political, economical, and whatever evolution from that date in 1965 to date. How do you reflect?
Thank you so much, Mr. Cham. And looking at 61, I would describe this to say, if Gambia were a civil servant, we are at the age of retirement. Retired already. 60. At 60 and 61. So the benefit of what we have done for service, we would have been enjoying that now. But is that factual in our reality and trajectories of development as well? Is quite interesting. But however, if you look at the Gambia down from 1965 coming, but you cannot make sense of 1965 without not forecasting back a little bit prior before independence, because there have been a lot of activities that projected the independent date to 1965, precisely 18 February. But if you significantly look at 1943, when the former American President Roosevelt had a reason to stop in the port of Banjul
Yes.
for a 30-minute drive to Yundum. He characterized the country in a term that I would not want to repeat.
Well, why not?
But quiet.
It is a view of it. It's historically important.
It's historically important, calling the Gambia a hellhole.
Is it a hellhole?
A hellhole.
I think that's a little bit more charitable than Bakali Rice.
Yes.
Improbable nation.
Improbable nation. We'll come to actually Bakali Rice, but if you looked at this phenomenon as a result, it also was a starting point for the Gambia's development trajectories.
Okay.
Because immediately when he passed through Banjul, he wrote to Wilson Churchill, the then Prime Minister of the Great Britain, over...
Was Roosevelt president when he was passing through Banjul?
Yes, I think so.
He was also,
I think
was
so.
a great president.
Yeah, indeed. So when this happened in 1943, and then he actually then wrote to Wilson Churchill to tell him, I don't think you are actually governing, because 30 minutes from the port of Banjul to the airport, I could see the characteristics of poverty in this country that is part of your territory. So what are you doing as a result to upgrade the life and the living standard? And then 3 years later, Gambia experienced its first development plan, which is the Blackburn Report.
So Roosevelt's description of our country actually spurred Winston Churchill to do something about it.
Yes, and this actually yield dividend, because we've seen now the British government trying to focus with a development plan, the Blackburn Report, to see how best they put some form of development in Banjul. So this is one significant thing that we saw in 1943, but this is outside of average Gambian, but we cannot actually also talk about this evolution without not talking about...
So a hellhole we were described in 1943, just during the war, that's it.
Yes, indeed, it was in the heart of the Second World War. But however, what we also need to look at is also the efforts of Francis Small. Edward Francis Small.
Okay, we are coming there. So in the run-up to well, let's say immediately after the Second World War, you know, there was this agitation among nations to now demand self-government. Because apparently we were told that when our people returned from the war, they knew that, see, the white man is not superior to us.
Indeed.
After all, the white man can die, and the white man can get wounded seriously. So they are not what we thought they are. So they began to demand for their rights, and throughout the world, the wind now started blowing, agitating for independence and freedom for blacks and colonies all over. How did this happen in the Gambia? You know, how was that campaign waged in the Gambia?
The campaign was waged quite heavily. If you look into the action of most, especially Edward Francis Small, most in 1929, when he actually started his nationalist movement as a result, and also the creation of the Batos Trade Union. But for most countries in sub-Saharan Africa or British West Africa, we have seen nationalist movement for labor rights turn into political parties, but we haven't seen that quite more visible with Francis Small having to start the first political party. No, but we saw it in the characteristic of JC5, and that's the Democratic Party over time trying to come over it. But Edward Francis Small was one person, in my opinion, that set the pace for our development trajectories, most especially towards self-determination, independence, and as well as some of those issues. Because what is very unique in his issue was when he contested the status quo at the time, that without no taxation, without representation. So it means he have that sense of belonging, that politically we should be able to take our own account of our decision. If not, we are not contributing into the tax. This is also one action that shows the face of political agitation, and I think would later be the inspiration for most of the people that actually set the agenda for our independence in 1965.
One important aspect also is that unlike other countries where the campaign, the march to liberation had to compel them to take up arms, in the Gambia, it was done peacefully. What do you think were the factors that help us
for a time, the British never believed in the Gambia to have been an independent state of its own. So this was one major factor that they were not paying attention as a result to say, okay, fine, this is a country that is resource-based and all. But most often than not, the conflict, the protests in most of the states using arm are very resource-rich countries.
Yeah, where they resorted to taking up, like in Kenya,
and the Congos, even Angola. So
and the Portuguese colonies.
As a result. So,
but even in Kenya, I mean, they had to. I think that's because of land use.
Yes.
Yeah.
So land itself is a very viable resource.
Yeah.
In any
Zimbabwe,
political in Namibia,
South Africa was the worst case.
South Africa was the worst case, because if you see the occupation of the small white minority was nothing other than land-based and other issues until today.
So you mean the quarrel and the fighting happen in countries that are much endowed with natural resources than ours?
Yes.
We had nothing but groundnut and stuff like that.
And groundnut and stuff like that. And even the British, and at the time, the scholars agitate majority of them, the narratives, because you need to understand, and you need to look at one issue. When a political situations try to project something, there's something what we call epistemic violence, trying to use narrative of the knowledge in order to frame a political situation. So in the Gambia, it was framed by the British that we cannot run ourselves as a state. So people were looking at the Maltese type of governance at one point. They were even looking at that possibility over, okay, let's give them some form of independence, but certain part of their independence still be held by the British in foreign policy and as well as in defense. But however, beyond all that odds, and also if you look at Beckley Rice, when he actually came, the project was nothing but to also reinforce the explanation that Gambia cannot independently govern itself. So I would always cherish the impetus of those early leaders trying to take the bull by its horn to see that we run ourselves as a state, and we recognize their effort.
Exactly. So the Francis Small, the JC fights before, and then they entered Gambia'S.
Yes. Gaba also played a very pivotal role, most especially because you will also see Gaba got his most of them got their inspiration in their interaction with Edward Francis Small in those trade issues as a result, and he became very politically interested in most of those actions. So this as a result is just a protraction of the agitation that were started by the early leaders as a result.
Well, you know, in most part of the continent at the time, unions, like you said, played a key role.
Indeed.
We also had people like M.E. Jallo. No?
Yes.
And where the contribution of the union?
M.E. Jallo also was another lieutenant of Edward Francis Small. So for them, at a greater perspective, because you need to, in labor rights, whenever you project a labor right, it also accompanies social and as well as some political.
Yes, because they were virtually
right. So today, even if you protest on, if Gambia Teachers Union protests over issues of their labor rights, it also have a political outcome.
Exactly.
So this is as a result in the fabric of most of these people, being Edward Francis Small, M.E. Jallo, and as well as Gambia'S. All of them as a result started the pace for labor agitation, but as a result also for political agitation, political options as a result.
Then the constitutional developments, and then we went to London, Marlborough House particularly, to negotiate for Gambia's independence. And then at that time, of course, P.S. Njai and Sadao de Jawara and others were involved. How did it develop, and what did the Marlborough House Agreement meant for the country, help in, in getting the...
I think we had a very great opportunity. If you look at the 1960 general election, where Sadauda thought that although there was election, but the election was not general in its description, and also fought for. So we've seen Gambia did general election in 60, and in 62 another general election have to be done to include the protectorate in there. So at 1962, when we were
the 1960 election was mostly colony.
Yes.
The people in the protectorate were not involved.
They were not involved.
Jawara and others demanded universal adult suffrage.
Yes. So that was the time we saw 2 general elections happening within the course of 2 years. But however, in 1962, when discussions were made as a result of our independence, there were narratives over Jawara becoming the overall president, and Persanjai and cohort thought if that happened, Jawara would have been a virtual dictator. So 1962, when we went into seek for our independence, we could have got both our independence and self-rule, and as a result of Republican status in 1963, but that failed.
That was what Jawara was referring to in Faraba.
Yes. So quite very interesting. But for me, when you look at the argument of Per at the time, Per Sanjay, was that if Jawara was allowed to rule, he would become a dictator. So for me, that was quite out of the blow, because if you know,
Jawara and others were more anti-colonials at the time.
Yes.
It looks like Per and the UP was much closer to the colonialists.
Yes, right. So it depends on, I think also they were looking at, I know Jawara and team knew in no further time we would be given independence, because the agitation was coming around. So it was safe to play by the population than to play
by the colonials.
And that paid
so one of the issues that made Per Njai and others unpopular, especially in the countryside, was their kind of identity with the colonial agenda.
Indeed. That was one of the result that they have to pay that price as a result, because politics is always a chess game. You should know when to move, and as a result when not to. So quite interesting. So it paid dividend for Jawara and Thim, but Per Njai was punished because of the proximity to the colonials as a result.
So eventually Jawara and others, Jawara and his PPP, when universal adult suffrage was introduced, naturally there are more people in the protectorate than the colonies. So the PPP got majority.
Yes, the PPP also quite very smart in their action. At the time in which they were seeking the sympathy of the protectorate, there was a name of their political party, the Protectorate Party. But when they got the protectorate part of their bank, they knew if they did not do that, Gambia would experience regional politics, where the combos or the crown might form also their political party against them. Jawara and team went in to change their name
from the People's Protectorate to the People's Progressive
Party. So the peoples now cut across whether you are in the Protectorate or you are in the crown.
And he did very well by integrating the people who were Hitato, opposed his opponents.
Right.
He did quite a lot in integrating the various communities from the colonies and the protectorate.
That was his advantage, and if he had failed to do that, he wouldn't have protected up to 30 years. So he knew, okay, fine, these were my opponents, but they were my opponents in forming government. Now government is formed. Now the problem is not who is my opponent and who is not, who consolidated my interests for a longer stay. So he opened up, because one of the problem I in fact learned during one of my visits before the demise of the late Sadar Kairaba. Sometimes when we visit to see, because his grandfather to us, so when we visit to have those discussions, you would definitely see him projecting in one time most of the issues that even caused one of the divorce between him and Sirif Mustafa Diba was as a result of how accommodative he was with his own opposition.
Yes, that was his problem. In fact, that has been a long criticism against him.
So, but in the wisdom of the old guy, he was quite also very smart. When he saw Sirif playing that card, he also played the card and flipped it against Sirif, and Sirif was seen more or less protecting the identity of a particular group over the universal Gambian nation. Right.
And that struck with Sirif all throughout. Because
I
remember he was not very popular in the colonial areas,
Yes, because...
And even in the hinterland, he had a problem in a part of his native Baribu and Fonyi. Okay, he has support in the Jaras, but then he had not been able to...
because Jawara bypassed that consolidation even for him. Where he has a stronghold, he also makes sure keep individuals from that area are also very prominent and visible in the PPP.
So it was difficult for Sirif to have any headway.
Yes, any headway with those people, and as a result, even Sekou Sabali coming as a result of that North Bank region, where he comes from as a result, and the position of...
So, and Lamin Sao.
Yes.
I mean, Jawara used them to counter his...
his popularity, and also making so, yes, we can move, but they are quite more weakened. Most especially, even if you look at the characterization of the politics of opposition against the PPP at the time, and you read Martin Meredith, the State of Africa, it did mention it. Yes, fine, there was multi-party democracy, there was also, but the opposition was quite weak. Election just becomes a formality. Right.
Yeah, Jawara had always wanted a multi-party democracy, yes, but the opposition was so weak that Jawara always know that he was going to. In fact, that's why after, we come in there. Now, after the independence, and then you mentioned the first attempt to get a republic was defeated. But we eventually got in 1970.
Yes.
And Jawara became president. We became a republic.
Right. People
said, okay, that year should have been the year, well, people call it, in fact, the independence, the actual Independence Day. From that place, 1970, so people said, well, that's when we should start judging the performance of our government or our country in all spheres of life from 1970 onwards, when we had our own currency, president, parliament, and everything together. How has Jawara fared? We were told at independence we had no money, we had not, the British were popping up our economy, in fact paying our salaries, I think up to 1975, wasn't it?
Yes.
How did Jawara fare, in terms of economic, political, and other aspects?
If you look at Jawara's economy, most especially until today, Mr. Cham, you will tend to understand that most of our development anchors on what Jawara has framed.
Foundations
that he led. Because from 1970, the argument over whether 1970 was our actual independence or not is 2026, do we still think we are independent?
Yes, we are coming to this. People still ask this question.
So if we still have those questions unanswered in this 21st century, it couldn't have been 1970. 1970, yes, put up the structure where Jawara and team, where the British said, okay, fine, we have accompanied you quite for long, but you look at 1975, immediately when the British stopped putting fund in our own governance, Jawara decided to take the bull by its own by the horn and also build its first developmental plan, 1975 to 1980.
5-year development plan.
The Tacito. The Tacito, he describes it.
Slogan, yes.
So when you look at that Tacito, it works for him. And perhaps the economic situations were quite slow, and also development when it comes to infrastructure was not very long-term massive, and looking at it from a most projected angle, but he has put up an economy that actually thrive even up till today, because our economy has ever been liberalized until when he decided to get into the economic recovery program with the PPP, with the PDYS advising from the onset it is going to fail. But if you look at also, he himself, Jawara and team, believe after moving to the economic recovery program they have failed. But most of our institutions that we have, compared to President Adam Barrow currently and former President Yahya Jammeh, let's go into the educational sector. He built no university, Jawara, which we will never forgive him for that, because he did not, but he did not build it for Gambians, but created it for himself and his children.
What do you mean by that?
Man, most of their political guns were sending out their own children to get educated at university level. So why deprive the people of the Gambia that opportunity? But that was also strategic for Jawara's long-term stay.
They didn't want an informed citizen.
An informed citizen. And as a result, he was using scholarship to move out consolidated dissent that will be coming. If you look at movement for justice, as a result, he knew there was no social media at the time to connect them. He sent orders to Bulgaria, orders to New Zealand. Before those people will come up together, they have lost contact of
realities. And meanwhile, he would have stayed in power.
He would have stayed in power quite so long. But
so even he sent the intellectuals abroad
Yes.
to study, but before they could come back to claim.
In fact, they will lose reality of what was happening, and a long term of that. So that worked for him, quiet for some time, and as a result. But when it comes to tertiary education, the Gambia College was there.
Yeah, I think that was the
GTTI was there.
Tertiary, yes.
The Rural Development Institute RDI
Mansakonko, yeah.
in Mansakonko, and as well as GTMI.
Yes, that's right. GTMI.
GTMI.
Is it MDI or GTMI?
And even MDI.
Yeah, okay, MDI, yeah.
MDI as well. So all this, but for Jamia 22 years, the only opportunity he gave Gambian is university, and killed some of those institutions that could have guaranteed our community development.
Yeah, that is he neglected those.
He neglected them.
Yeah. There used to be VTC, Vocational Training
Center. Today, now our strategy. So today, our strategy is let's go back to those TVET. We had them, but we could not.
VTC, which was growing. In fact, they had a branch in Farafenye.
Yes.
So we are seeing pictures from the Makati Square, meaning, of course, that the preparations are on there. But before we join them, we can continue. Yes. So. Jawara, the former regime, after independence, I mean, Jawara laid down foundations, yes.
Right.
And some of those foundations are still around and have been built. Okay, whereas his government did not achieve infrastructural development massively, which many people argued would have really far developed the country faster than it did. That was an inadequacy. But meanwhile, social cohesion, tolerance, and human rights, he was able to really do a very good job on that.
He was a champion of social cohesion and as well as respect for human rights, and most especially also understanding the philosophy of Gambian as a result. He was more compromising with even opposition.
Yeah.
As a result,
that's what most people said in today's Gambia. Barrow is copying from Sadauda's tolerance when it comes to. But although this, it must be said in court because it comes with strategy for them also. Like Jawara will, bring in his opponents, but then he knows strategically that works for him because he would have silenced them.
Right.
So people will say, well, Mr. Barrow also is very accommodative. In fact, very accommodative, because even people who are known to have been his fiercest critics have now been accommodated and they sit at the same table with him. So people give him that credit that as far as tolerance is concerned, he seemed to have that in abundance.
I think President Adam Barrow understands the philosophy of most of the Gambian politicians. It's not because they have a problem with him. They have a problem of not participating in the governance. And whenever you complain a lot, he throws that to you and you pick it.
So he knows that they are not genuine, in criticizing. They just felt that they are not participating.
They are not participating. So that is why now he changed their position. And when they started participating, now they are his protector. Nothing have changed.
he has mastered the science.
Yeah, like I would say, he President Adam Barrow, has no answers to the questions that the Gambian are calling. But as a result, he is getting mature politically every day and more consolidated.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So let's go back to some of the challenges that happen. With Jawara, you said, I mean, he was able to consolidate his power by consuming or recruiting his former opponents and sending intellectuals who might be sophisticated and start asking questions, educate them abroad. He knew before they come back, to settle down, perhaps they would have, like you said, lost touch, and he would have, still been in power. But this bit about, like you said, Sheriff Diba was more identified with the cause of the people from the protectorate. Accusing Jawara of betraying and giving himself to the colonies. These were some of the grievances that people said led to the first political challenge we had and instability in 1981.
Yeah.
When we saw the people, mostly from the provinces, welcomed the attempted coup d'etat against him because they thought that people in the colonies whom he empowered educationally and economically by giving them jobs, have turned to be corrupt, and they don't care about the welfare of the people. So they said those grievances, really led to the attempted coup d'etat in 81.
Yeah. So
how did that affect our survival? Because many people thought that, well, that we were lucky, we would have been finished had it not been Senegal and other things.
I definitely think when Jawara got power, he got distracted over what he first projected when the PPP was the People Progressive Party, and when actually Protectorate People's Party, and now when they become People's Protectorate Party. But you need to also understand one thing: in every group that is formed, always a feudal is born as a result.
Okay.
There must be some group of people that are the feudals of that particular group. So that is what happened to Jawara. When he has his governance reality, the feudalism came and also stopped only in the crown, and as well as the protectorate fell neglected over time. So when by 1981, Jawara have already spent some handsome amount of time in government. So the people, when they get distracted from development, they agitate for change, and that change could come at any cost. So the 1981 coup, when it came, the people in the protectorate, is the marginalization that make them side with that reality, but not because they want a military regime.
I see.
Yeah, but even if that had happened, it would not have still changed.
Kukoi's message was more identified with the cause of the peasantry. He called it the downtrodden. He had all this vocabulary from communist countries, and he said his revolution was for the downtrodden masses. The people who found themselves to be downtrodden by the Jawara regime quickly identified themselves. And of course, people in the opposition like the NCP were suspected to have really, even if not been part of the planning, but then they took part in the chaos that followed.
One guarantee I do not see in military or revolutionary front. A military revolution is equal to a coalition government. Yes.
Well, they're different. When the coalition goes to get the people's consent, when the military can go on and take power.
I'm looking at the attitude in the reaction, not as a result of semantically say they are actually the same, but what brings them together does not keep them together.
Oh, okay.
Once a revolution is consolidated and they are in power, they break away from the original people that supports it.
Yeah.
Even the NCP that was at the time accused of being very close, if Kukoi have succeeded, they would become the first problem of Kukoi.
Yes.
So that is why also when coalition governments are formed, once government is formed and now governance begin, they split. In most sub-Saharan African countries, they would split and then go as the same attitude that we see in other
places. It happened in the, like you said, in the liberation struggles in Africa.
Right.
For example, in Zimbabwe, ZANU of Robert Mugabe and ZAPU of Joshua Nkomo.
Yep.
Once they got independence, they split. That was a big internal civil war. One would have said nearly a civil war.
Who in fact told Joseph Kasavubu
in Congo
do away with Lumumba
as recent as South Sudan.
South Sudan.
When all of them were all united to fight the Arab North. But when they got independence, what happened?
That's it.
Up to now.
When Garang left, then we've seen how the Nuer and the Dinkas decided to choose different path, and they and these were the same people.
Salva Kiir and
Riek Machar
could not come. So you are right. Once they come to power,
that's the problem.
So
revolution and that they have that similarity in its content. So at that result, similar thing happened even in 1994. Who knew Jammeh before then? But because infrastructure, you've seen people clap for him as if he was a saint.
Exactly.
So they did not believe in Jammeh per se. They were only venting the marginalization that they have been surviving for some time. But there was no guarantee that those protectorates actually enjoy from even Jammeh's regime.
Jammeh became worse
as a result.
Yeah. So we quickly moved to the Jammeh era. Well, of course, because the other challenge we had when we survived in 81, in 94, Jawara had to go. This time the coup d'etat was successful because there were weaklings, they said. the creation of the army from the ashes of the 1981 coup. We thought that would bring us protection, but it turned out that they become the instability factor. But how did that help in the country's? Because people said the country's stability nearly on the Jammeh, really the country's cohesion really suffered a lot.
I think that argument, I will tell you, if by after 81, right, shortly before 81, there was this negotiation, Jawara wanted to form an army, but went in for it for some time and he stopped. If he had formed it around early after Republican status moving forward, the coup d'etat would have been earlier than 1994.
Then yes, definitely.
Because immediately he put up that plan, some of the people outside of the Gambia who were very stubborn elite against Jawara's regime started to join the British army and some of those issues to be trained. So they were just waiting for Jawara. So when Jawara got that intelligence, they told him, these are very stubborn people. You cannot contain them, and when they return, they would become very senior officers in the military. They would train the military from grassroots to remove
and Jawara, of course, had experienced in Ghana, Dr. Nkrumah, in Namdina,
so
Nigeria. So he knew that in the 70s he was not interested in the army.
Yes. So one very person who was not very happy with it in cabinet was former Honorable Oje Jallow, who was never a fan Gambia running a military. Because I think he saw that Ghana and as a result could be a reality in here. So when Jammeh came in 1994, he came up with his own slogan. Yes, and started pushing for certain developmental agendas. We have seen what Jawara have suppressed over time, that is the media. He introduced the GRTS and also started to expand.
No, I think Jawara naturally did not suppress media. What happened was it did not develop.
Yes.
Of course, the radio, the only one radio was controlled, well, more or less controlled by the, well, let's say they were patronizing the government. That was.
He allowed the freedom.
I remember when yes, he allowed freedom, but there were no participants.
Yes.
That was until, because I remember when the Daily Observer came in '92, even Jawara's own cabinet members were opposed to the Observer. They would tell him, you know, these people destroyed, this is what destroyed Liberia and it's coming here. Jawara said, no, I mean, we called ourselves the democratic country where freedom of expression is. So it has always been there. Yeah. This is just an expression of it. I mean, if Jawara had not resisted at the time, I mean, they would have. Yeah.
So when we look at it, we're looking at the action of the government at a wider perspective, which is bigger than Sadauda and his philosophy alone. He has a different philosophy, even from the PPP party. We've seen the history when even at the time in 1970, they wanted to force him to declare one-party state. And he told them, if that is what you want, let me go out, bring somebody that is going to declare one-party state. So even if that value still lives in him, that is why I'm still even calling the current president, that if he believes in term limit, it does not have to be the NPP telling him you have to go for a third term. If he believes in that and it's a value that he actually believes in, he should stand by his own belief. But we've seen there and there. So he has that strong belief around that. So moving to 1994, when you look at Jammeh and other issues, yes, I would look at Jammeh most especially when it comes to infrastructural development, some of the decisions that he took, the decision of the university in 1999, because when the university took its footing, also give a new model to our developmental pace movement and as well as some of those other issues. And until now, we have seen at least in every 1 or 2 years, we are able to graduate 30 doctors that are trained in the Gambia to become medical doctors as a result. But this was not the reality. But until independence to now, we are still struggling to deliver engineers. I think the first batch this wasn't happened last year or year before.
Yeah,
with the USET.
Yeah.
So some of very critical component of our issue he actually did, but where he failed was in the case of agriculture.
Oh, and he claimed he has done better than Jawara.
No, he failed. Looking at the investment that he has done, in agriculture and the money that he put into agriculture and the output.
But is he to blame? He was locking up all agric officials during that time.
No, as a result, he has the good idea of back to the land, but the back to the land was mistaken for back to Kanilai.
Well, at this point, we've seen one of those black, what do you call it, Prado limousines,
the SUV.
The SUVs have arrived at the McCarthy Square. We yet to establish who might be in that black, but that signaled the arrival of the Kulukumbas, as the Radio Gambia would call them.
Would describe it.
Yes, coming to the square. And of course, well, it looks like this is a first lady. Yeah, look, that's the first lady.
That's the first lady
arriving. Let's suggest that now that it wouldn't be long
before we see the president.
The president himself comes. The two first ladies, actually, the two wives of the president, are actually in that vehicle there. They are now being escorted on the red carpet to the presidential days. Of course, that's where they will sit. And well, I guess it is going to be the army communication unit who's gonna be the master of ceremonies of these things. And
right.
when they get to that point, we will hand over to them. And I could see among the dignitaries, it looks like the leader of the opposition, Hussein Odabo, is there.
Okay.
Former vice president are all in the gathering there. We will go over there if they start the ceremonies in the square there. Right. So we survived 19. We are into 94. You said Jawara Jammeh introduced in university, but you said there were still critical things lacking. Like we just had our first batch of engineers. So in terms of education, even whereas you will argue that Jammeh actually went a step further than Jawara, but we were yet to have a complete circle of graduates in critical areas. Okay, and now it looks like the big man himself has come.
Okay.
President, no, this is the vice president, obviously.
Okay.
The vice president is now been escorted. Yeah, on the red carpet across the square to go to his seat. They have this podium where everyone who comes will first come and greet the people and then go and take you. So any moment from now, the president will arrive, and I guess the ceremony will start. So we may have to hand over to the Army Communication Unit, who are the master of ceremonies, or perhaps the director of press at State House, Army Bojang Sisa, to bring you the rest of the ceremony. But Mr. Juari, we now fast forward. Well, of course, we know Jammeh, how he last and how the country suffered a lot under his regime. People said of the 61 years, that 22 years of Jammeh could have been described as the darkest chapter, even though his people would have pointed to some things like you're talking about. But generally, people believe those were the darkest moments. How and why do you think Jammeh failed to, as he promised, to deliver a nation that is more progressive, that was more free, that was more developed, and one in which the citizenry are more or are better off, as he promised? Where did he fail?
The Kaki boys, I would call them the military, often sometimes don't have the background in governance in trying to run a state. Perhaps they stand from an angle looking at the state too simplistic, not looking at the complex.
There are the pictures of the former vice president. They're sitting with the chief justice there. So Fanumara Tambajan, Hussein Odabo, it's important that he, because this is a national event, it is expected that everybody will turn up.
Indeed.
Yeah, and that's what it used to be, in the past. So you mean somebody said the education of the military, the education of the military, inescapably transforms them to enemies of anybody who acts with freedom.
Yes.
Because their very education is that they've been taught to act as one, adhere one command, execute one command, and don't ask questions.
Yes.
And this is definitely quite the opposite of what is expected in a society that is run through
democracy.
Through democracy. So the very education of the military makes them not suitable to be in government.
Indeed.
So that's where the trouble begins.
That is where the trouble begins, because a mere fact of dissent would mean disrespect or insubordination. And in their reaction, they don't react as civil. They react very, very military around it, because power as well as a result. But when you look at the book by Sen in 2008, where he described Jammeh's political era as a paradoxical hybrid political order, where he said that by the outlook of the structure of government, you see some democratic features, but the operationalization of those democratic institutions fell far from the value of democracy itself. There were political parties, there were periodic elections, there were media, as he said, but at that, what is not guaranteed is freedom after speech. It's not guaranteed. And once that is defeated, then the whole purpose of saying there is media freedom is useless. Elections was that, but we have seen how he managed to manipulate the outcomes of
the 1996 election was too bad.
Was too bad.
Absolutely. And I think that was the turning point, because Jammeh realized that so many people disagreed with him.
Yes.
And were disappointed with him. So the birth of the UDP actually frightened him.
Indeed.
He began to realize that a lot of people disagreed with him.
Indeed.
And that was when he now used the full might of the military to take over. And if you look at political parties, yes, but political party or party leaders in the Gambia, then they are endangered species. Of course. Definitely, they suffered a lot.
They suffered a lot. And
your father, Lamin Wajuara, was not even allowed to participate in the 96 election.
Yeah, he was in prison.
He was locked up in Makati because of his fierce criticism of the military junta.
Indeed.
And then even the whole exercise, the 96 election was terrible, was very bad.
And I could remember in 2004 when he actually made that statement when the inflation was going high, and he said, let's take it to the street. And he was in prison for
he was in prison. He
was in prison for was it slander or libel, something like that?
They always
seditious something.
Come with top
and then when they actually, I remembered one of the visit we did at Mile 2 to see him. I found him seated with former Vice President Sana Sabali. And Sana Sabali in the discussion told him, in 1996, I told Jammeh that you have to be in prison because you were quite very close to the local governance, and having you around and not joining their camp would mean a lost.
Somebody told him that?
Yes, he told him in my presence. I could fully remember that in 2004.
And that was 2004?
Yeah, and he told Sabali, but I told you I will come to prison and leave, and I will give you my shoe.
And that's what happened.
And he took up the flip-floppers and gave it to Sabali while he was still in prison.
It was interesting.
So very interesting.
Very interesting, yes. And he was, Lamin Wajuara was definitely a hero in the early days of the junta, because he was the fiercest critic. They had to lock him up. Even somebody said it was his idea.
Yes, he told him. I could fully remember that.
There was a international campaign. Even the Commonwealth of Parliamentarians all came up for pressure on Jammeh.
Right.
That Mr. Juara should be released. But Jammeh waited until the elections were over.
And then he decided to come up
because his fear was, like you said. His influence was very, 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 very big for them to get. See, so Jammeh, he messed up big time.
Big time.
And that 22 years of the journey of our nation is still described as the worst. So, but when we came from there were a lot of hopes that we could do things differently. But apparently it looks like, yes, whereas we may have progressed in terms of infrastructural developments, in the aspect of roads and similar projects, now we hear that the regional electrical projects, whether they are the OMVG or they are ECOWAS, have been implemented very well in the country. Developments that President Barrow claimed are his credits. So, do you think we could have? How would you assess our performance in the last 10 years? The last 10 years of our 60th anniversary, from the 50th anniversary downwards, from the 51st to now onwards. How did we fare?
Yeah, President Adam Barrow with his team are quite taking massive infrastructural development projects, but at what cost is what I would definitely examine, because also looking at that, our debt is increasingly exponentially growing as a result, knowing fully well that he and his government cannot pay that debt as a result. So the debt is now anchored to our grandchildren or our great-grandchildren to come and actually service those debts.
So are you saying the loans have been recklessly contracted to give the government an image that will portray them to be doing good for the country?
I will not describe it recklessly, but what I'm saying is that the loan that they are actually accruing in the names of the Gambian people that are yet unborn, what kind of investment are we doing with those infrastructural development for sustainability? You get the point? Today, for me, we are just renovating.
But there have been roads where they never existed.
Yeah, that is in the provinces.
Well, here they are where? Are we going back now to
the president is?
Oh, the president is coming now. Oh yeah, the president. The pictures. Oh, now we have seen the president coming to the square now. And as usual, well, I have a memory of this type of ceremony. When we were young, I grew up in the provinces, in Kiang East, and our first introduction to this kind of ceremony is when you reach primary 5.
Right.
Primary 5 and primary 6 pupils will be carried from the schools to Mansakonko. That was the regional. That's still the regional headquarters where the commissioners.
Yes.
And then that's where these ceremonies will be held. At the time, of course, it is held simultaneously but then later it's after the independence in Banjul that others in the regions do it. So we will be packed in a lorry and driven from Kayaf to Mansakonko. That would be a great day. It was always a and each student have it twice in your lifetime in primary school. That 5 and 6.
Right.
Yes. So it used to be a big carnival, and we will spend the whole day in Mansakonko and Pakalinding area for sports, for other festivities. Nobody ever forgets, and nobody want to be left side. So people who are in primary 5 and 6 are envied by the rest of the school for the opportunity to go to Mansakonko to do this independence. The commissioner will, of course, be the symbol representing the president, but all other things are the same. The band will be playing, the police band will be there, and everything will be there. It's always enjoyable.
Right.
But it was big during those days. Independence was very big. And what can you remember in Brikama?
Brikama, I also remember times in which, while I was also in primary school, when these are there, they will organize similar activities, and then we will graze it, and some would have to travel from Brikama that are very close to Banjul to be part of the peoples that will march in front of the president to actually commemorate the day.
Indeed, president has now entered the square. His motor vehicle is driving majestically towards the days where he will alight, and hopefully he will do. He will go around the squares often, as he often do, to greet the people before taking his seat, and then the whole proceedings will start in proper. Normally, of course, after the pleasantries, after his arrival, these 21 gun salute or whatever you call it, and the inspection of the guards, the introduction of the guards by the guards commander, and then everybody will be seated, and then the march past will start. Often it is a long list of schools, volunteers, groups of volunteers, the army, the police, and always security institutions will then march past the presidential desk, and then he will deliver the address. And the address is sometimes, is often cultured as an address to the peoples. It's more or less to the younger children. As this has been the tradition. It's to boys and, Yawara would call it boys and girls. So the address is almost always targeted to the future generation. And then, the government, the president will talk about some of the, the areas of improvements that the government has been able to implement. And if there are challenges, they would highlight it, stuff like that. So like I said, the president is going around in his vehicle to so that he can greet as many people as possible. And then from there he will alight, and then the ceremony will then start. This is the 61st anniversary at the McCarthy Square in Banjul. Yes, so as the president continues touring the square, we were talking about, we were trying to assess the last 10 years in the 60 years of our existence, how we emerged from a terrible era with the hope and promise that we will get things better arranged for everybody. We are trying to see how the government, then led by Barrow, have performed over the last 10 years in terms of economic. We mentioned infrastructural developments. You balance that against what people have agreed are difficult times in terms of living, cost of living, cost of basic essential things that people have to deal with every day. And then you see the score is not that impressive to the critics.
When the government focus more or less on macroeconomics development, which I will not go deep because I'm not an economics, but however, if they do that, they can solve the problem of inflation. Right. When you look at our economy, yes, the economy is developing, but it's not growing. That's the difference. So for economic growth is diversification. How well do we diversify our economy, opening new channels where we get income? But for economic growth is looking at the existing structures and how those structures could multiply income. So since independent until now, we're only talking about tourism, foreign exchange, and rice cultivation. So how diversified are we in our economy in making sure that it is resilient?
What other areas do you think we can produce?
Fisheries. Fisheries.
It's been around, but it's not been developed, but it's been around.
That's the problem.
All right, we are now going over to the McCarthy Square, Mr. Juara, because there the proceedings have started now.
Indeed. You can see the president going to take the national honor for that.
Exactly.
Well, that was the national anthem. I mean, by our fine men and men and women in uniform. I mean, after the president arrived there, I mean, Mr. Mboch, I mean, Ghana president bu mu egg gis nañ ne gars yi tegal nga ne moo nekk national anthem bi mu nekk anthem bu am solo comme ni ma leen ko waxee rek at bi nag parade commandant bi lieutenant colonel Ambrose Dacosta la moom moo nekk parade commandant bi at bi waaye Mr. Mboch dama gis ne for the past 4 years yëpp góor moo lay nekk parade commandant. Have you observed that? Nabu, I'm not never following my heart. I'm not. No.
I was thinking it.
Huh?
I was thinking it. Is there a reason why?
Hopefully next year I'm jigget, Mr. Much.
Yes, I mean, we are living in such times
into the program proper.
Gender inclusion, right?
Yes, that's the idea.
By seeking his blessings.
We are more animated, I think, now by the idea. But
on that note,
we've been very slow.
May I respectfully invite the representative
we are in the right direction.
The Imam Radi for Banjul, Imam Abdul Aziz C.
Parce que xam naa ne 2023 Abdoulaye Mboup la woon 2024 ñu am Abdoulaye Ba ñu am right now moo nekk state guard commander bi last year ñu am suma friend Armando Diatta moo nekkoon parade commander bi at bi ñu ngi am Ambrose Dacosta.
I like to believe we'll get there.
Hopefully,
I'd like to believe we'll get there.
Hopefully. So right now, President bi gonna bing tegee li nga xam ne national anthem bi jël na toogaam mu ngi toog xam naa ne du yàgg rek dina dellusiwaat pour def li nga xam ne.
Assalaamu aleykum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Wa kullu aamin wa antum bi xayr. Ramadan mubarak. أقف هنا نيابة عن إمام راتب الحاج تشيرنو علي ماسكة حفظه الله وأيده. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين. حرمة اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد الفاتح لما أغلق والخاتم لما سبق ناصر الحق بالحق والهادي إلى صراطك المستقيم وعلى آله حق قدره ومقدار العظيم بسر الفاتحة وصلاة الفاتح وببركته وبحرمته وبحق أسمائك الحسنى كلها معلمنا منها وما لم نعلم وبخاصة قاصة اسمك العظيم الأعظم الله لا إله إلا هو الحي القيوم العلي العظيم وإلهكم إله واحد لا إله إلا هو الرحمن الرحيم ألف لام ميم الله لا إله إلا هو الحي القيوم وعنت الوجوه للحي القيوم وعنت الوجوه للحي القيوم أسألك يا رب يا ربنا بركة اللهم أنت أمرتنا بدعائك وأعدتنا بإجابتك وقد دعوناك كما أمرتنا فأجبنا كما وعدتنا يا ذا الجلال والإكرام إنك لا تخلف الميعاد. اللهم إنا نسألك أن تحفظ بلادنا غامبيا وفي مقدمتهم رئيسنا الحاج آدم برو وحكومته وشعبه. اللهم احفظ غامبيا، اللهم اجعلها بلدا آمنا مطمئنا ياتيها رزقها من كل مكان برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين يا رب العالمين. سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون والسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين. فاتحة.
Amin Allah, Amin Ya Rabbal Alameen. May I also respectfully invite His Lordship Bishop of Banjul, Gabriel Mendy, CSSP, to lead us in the Christian prayers. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit, amen. All-powerful God, creator of heaven and earth, on this day we celebrate our country's 61st independence anniversary that happily coincides with the beginning of Lent and the month of Ramadan. We present our nation and ourselves to you and ask for your forgiveness, blessing, guidance, and protection. May we always live in mutual harmony and respect for one another. You answered the prayers of the citizens and leaders of our country in their quest for independence. So we gather here once again to express our gratitude and reaffirm our faith and hope in you as the origin and source of our independence, freedom, peace, and progress. We pray that you will continue to protect and preserve the Gambia and its peoples from danger, violence, hatred, and divisions. Keep us safe in your care from the evil one and its agents, and inspire and empower each of us to follow your ways and work for the success, stability, and welfare of our nation and humanity as a whole. May we always experience your protection and assistance and our oneness and unity in you as your children, regardless of our religion, our tribe, our ethnicity, our political affiliation and background. As we celebrate our nationhood today, we pray in a special way for our President, His Excellency Adama Barrow and his family, his Vice President, Cabinet Ministers, the Chief Justice, and members of the Judiciary, the Speaker and members of Parliament. You appointed them to direct the affairs of this country and work for the common good and the benefits of its citizens. So we implore you to guide, sustain, and strengthen them so that they will execute their duties with integrity and dedication, justice, sincerity, and the fear of God. Grant them good health, peace, happiness, and success in their public life of service to our nation. We commend into your care the security forces and health workers of our country who committed themselves to maintain law and order and protect and preserve our lives, that you will defend them from every physical and spiritual attack of the enemy. Bless and assist our children, our students, youth, workers, and all the citizens of our country. Grant them the knowledge and the resources they need to succeed and be law-abiding citizens. And may you fulfill their hopes and aspirations in life. We make this through Christ our Lord. Amen. Lord, answer our prayers. Your Excellency, President of the Republic of the Gambia and Commander-in-Chief of the Gambian Forces, Mr. Adama Barrow, Your Excellency, the First Lady, Madam Fatoumata Barrow, Your Excellency, Lady Sajo Balo Barrow, Your Excellency, the Vice President, Mohammed B.S. Jallo, Honorable Speaker of the National Assembly, His Lordship, the Chief Justice of the Gambia and senior judges here present, Her Lordship, the Mayor of Banjul, and His Lordship, the Mayor of Grand Yoff, former Vice Presidents of the Republic, Your Excellency, President of the ECOWAS Commission, Secretary to Cabinet and Head of the Civil Service, Honorable Cabinet Ministers here present, Honorable Ministers of the African countries here present, Honorable Members of the National Assembly and members of the Judiciary, Your Excellencies, members of the Diplomatic and Consular Corps, National Security Advisor, and other advisors to His Excellency the President, former Speaker of the National Assembly, Chief of Defense Staff, Gambia Armed Forces, and the Inspector General of the Gambia Police Force, Armed and Security Service Chiefs, General Officers and Senior Officers here present, Heads of Government Departments, NGOs, parastatals, private companies and institutions, Regional Governors and Seifolu, Venerable religious leaders, members of the press, esteemed invited guests, ladies and gentlemen, all other protocols duly and respectfully observed. Good morning to you all. I am Major Malik Sanyang, Director of Press and Public Relations of the Gambia Armed Forces, and it is both an honor and a solemn privilege to serve as Master of Ceremony on this historic occasion, which is the 61st Independence Anniversary of our beloved Republic. On behalf of the National Organizing Committee, I would like to welcome you all to the Makati Square in Banjul on this fateful Wednesday, the 18th day of February, 2026. On this very ground and across this sovereign land, we gather not merely to commemorate a date, but to reaffirm a destiny. On 18th February 1965, the Union Jack was lowered and our national flag rose with quiet dignity into the Gambian sky. There were no thunderous cannons announcing our birth into history, only the steady resolve of a people determined to govern themselves. That moment was not only symbolic, it was transformational. It marked the transfer of responsibility from colonial authority to the sovereign will of the Gambian people. Independence declared to the world that the Gambia bears no allegiance to any external power, that sovereignty resides exclusively in her people, that our territorial integrity is invaluable, and that our political destiny shall be determined by Gambians for Gambia in accordance with our laws and democratic principles. These were not mere proclamations, they were solemn commitments. 61 years on, we stand as beneficiaries and custodians of that commitment. From our modest beginnings, our nation has advanced in infrastructure, education, healthcare, transportation, and professional capacity. We have strengthened democratic governance and deepened our institutional maturity. Yet, progress must never breed complacency. Independence is an event confined to history, not. It is an obligation renewed in every generation, just as ours. In our midst are representatives of every sector of our society, judges, parliamentarians, members of the executive and private sector, farmers and fishermen, students and professionals, persons with disabilities, cultural and religious leaders. Independence belongs equally to all. Our diversity is not a fault line, it is a foundation. When we march together, we demonstrate that unity is not uniformity, it is a shared purpose. For the armed and security services, our presence today is not merely ceremonial. We stand as guardians of sovereignty, defenders of territorial integrity, and guardians of peace and stability. Even under the hardest sun or the heaviest rain, we march in disciplined resolve because the defense of the homeland is a sacred trust to us. We salute our founding fathers whose foresight secured our freedom. We honor those who have served and continue to serve in the preservation of peace and national cohesion. We reaffirm that our democratic republican values, accountability, justice, participation, and national unity remain non-negotiable. As we reflect on our journey, let us remember, independence is sustained not by rhetoric, but by responsibility, not by division, but by brotherhood, not by entitlement, but by service. The promise of 1965 is renewed in 2026 in our collective aspirations. Therefore, we remain steadfast in purpose, unshaken in patriotism, and unwavering in our commitment to building a nation large enough in spirit to accommodate all her sons and daughters. One people, under one flag, guided by one constitution. As we now prepare to witness the inspection of the troops on parade and the march past of our armed and security forces, let us behold more than synchronized steps. Let us see a living symbol of discipline, unity of command, and unity of a nation. Different institutions, one mission. Service to the Gambia, ever true. On that note, I have the singular honor to announce the inspection of the troops on parade by the reviewing officer, His Excellency, President of the Republic of the Gambia and Commander-in-Chief of the Gambia Armed Forces, His Excellency Mr. Adam Barrow, GMRG. Parade Commander, sir.
Parade! Jump!
Uncle Modu malo nak 1965 18 February jumale nyaton kaya kenyi role la mini alon ko sai sojaro le ka keni independent of caring bar tata fo sai ni independent of caring hani sojaro fango la kibari janjandir la bundala e ka lodu la minke ani ka angale kango fata nyame waya itandile ko tanko bunda fana yurwa keta jibakel adu yenyin tanko bunda o bundaje molle be marari la kibari janjangola ngamira nyinen parade commandati mimmo Andrews Jat dakostati nyomin kolem ngamira ko nyomin kol fana be sewori ne nyin tembeng ke la banko dingoje abe nyimbe mba.
I am Lieutenant Colonel Ambrose Da Costa. Parade 61st Independence Anniversary Parade from DOP, 24 officers, 541 other ranks in open order, ready for your inspection, Your Excellency.
is also a religious and so heroic in that. Sally, this Fodekaba is an interesting song, but we leave it at that. And we concentrate on proceedings here. Haji Sumundu, the president is instructing the guard of honor. This is traditional, and it's also protocol when parade has set to begin. The president instructs the guard of honor and accompanied by military or security officers who will be marching in slow motion. I don't know when you're president, how are you supposed to walk? Are you supposed to walk? But you can see he's also on his marching slowly, elegantly, and majestically as they will call it.
Alaji Esa Jallo, Maremu, Karakana Halleni Moben, and the Excellency President Adama Barrow, Wakine Torangan Makan Square, Watnakie, Kakatumobe, Sonkaso Nyani, Mashallah, Watni Nyanto Segrata Kambo, Jamangume, Mahakatikabe Bonondi, Akinye Banagoti, Golden Jote, Kakatang, Haitanga Dempo Lakanjonia High, Kenny Ladanyen, Fwana Kawanta, Ovano, Jamanin Kota Jurana. What Nike Kota, Ives was a second again, Ives was talking again. Ives would a cigarette Kota no. The man in Manke, Kota and Jurana and the Kota Kota Pai, Seven got a language. What in Nagas Kenya Tangani Manko, Kubenanga Mamarani, I am Manko and City Moktaru Kasapa, IGP, Seri Moktaru Kendo, Mamadu Ocham, Lieutenant General, Kenyan Chief of Staff, Gambian Armed Forces, Yanda, Jamagumentuji, Araime personal bodyguard, no, Kia Kadino Mat Pasame, Ordinary Tangani Jordan, Simogamu Debari, Grame, March passing Kingana Nimeta, Tengari Joke, Jamagumenkado, Teremo Gemunderi, what me Rangana Dalla, Gonde Sudi, Angana Kara, Angana Dalla Golzana Kem Fabuno, Gonde Suga Nagarana Fam, then go to Match Mo, Ari Mo by Kenondi, Aganirini, Amasimo Kabana Boka Mundi. How do I have an Adim Pai, Serentanga, Palanda Ganako, Tunazwanga, Ken on a Kenya, Alanda Kui, Alanda Mungumo, Alanda Murakianga, Adidumakayan Kandi, Nantomo Takina Motakivir, Nukusian Kani, Ayaka Jamakeswa, Kagatmobe, Tunganiwakani Fwai, Alan Kuyupore, one, Ken on the what me, on a can, Sasakundo, Jamangume, His Excellency, President Aramabaro, any moment. Away Nandangi, Birambe T. Karanga, Odo Hibegame Karanga T. Makat Square, Jamani Manke, Agala Paremo Bedabardenki, Arabasam Kulanyarondi, Adi Batamaka King and Vice President Mohammed B.S. Jallo, Arabasam Kulanyarondi, Isula Kempare Muada Bardenki, Kiakati, Oga Konagara Mobi Hibegati, Paranunga, Pollution, Immigration, GRE, Kendo Fire Rescue Service, Fofogan Tangan for Lakancho is why Military Rubino Sikiti Hale, Punka Hale, Punka di Golden Farm City, International Nyala Yala do Kota Warren, Kota Nangan and Dogo do Queen, Kota Nogo do Queen, and Tame do Sinabane, you don't meet Kenga, Ketanumi do Sinabane, you don't Tamido Banet Kenga, Ken Hakati Gilene, and not the Jamangumo, Narini, Nadaga, Bari Alhamdulillah. What Nikari Mashallah, Allah over Jaga Jamangumi, Angat and Jamani Migra Sewekitari, Aga Hinne, no Hangani, Dumakan Kandangan, Itikana, Amel and Jakantan, where Jakantan, say the word Jakan, Angat attacking a Jamaican on the Gabian Shodan, the Jamaniki, Jagakaranga, King and His Excellency, President Adama Barrow, what me Ada Laidu Hanubenutu. Kengan tikuram pinunga golunga na jamani ke hirwandi wadne kunchuri tawe nankite lenki ana fota na konona nanti lahiru kanu tarano ubal balahiru hanu kongo kontimme wadna ngane President of the Republic of the Gambia Mr. Adama Barrow wadna ngane nuwal Abdullah Cham ado Sali Jaju Alaji Modi Chof
molami kabiri na independent e baji jimama jimeti majeti Gambia eno koro di majeti ko famu butu hani ku bobo kan manyon ko ku digiten ko ya kol la maje ko fang ku wamman ku konko meti ko ya ke ma fameti Gambia ko ngole maje fam ko ku man ku kano e ka kana kole kan kono ceremonial dance wa hobaji ja wanu manyon wo sume wala wo sumutu mo mo ko kemeno man ku jawdi ko Gambia kila woto nye arunga iti mo fam pana ban kan ngomora kacila kan manyon kona de kane koya bala bu boli nyawo nyambara man ko jumum tate bete jumeti wanku waran bukandi makana mu man kukan banja bane eti ku sojar ke ngone Gambia am ban ko ku rongon di kapana ku cina ko ku tusi ja ku banja ban ku pur man Gambia police bane bil mena ngole na rongon ku nyila kiti karam ngi nabi a president na wasanke no maban woto tate momo di bay eti banjul odo rondi kabajo independent e mo fameti Gambia simi sone bukan ku feji di yokon nanu manje nono bajambe fanga fole la ay baje fuko en manje yo independent e bajami kele fanfang de kapana keti kapoyak kapana keti juwe kapana keti uchepa urungaw kapana keti kuranga e de waya boyem jiwola ja lok ngaw ya wujunya cheb arunga eti mafam abanum kangomora kanawara makandi mafam be wombulu si project kaseti kuranga e sanu manje so narokum deri Gambia nye kone wanu manju wo kupina buyiselo kebe yaya bukan kone bukan kubaki dunyen burom kubaba kurange ifulaka afol yo yise ne jaye futule manju independent ubi jari kupana kete kakarang si university so studeri si baneru no nangambe baju independent baju to university college yo midi college kila fanka juko meti kubaje ni baby ba barenye baba mamjon hani basi baba jukole blomo ke yan manje wonko legi dana kala University of the Gambia ere wuto nuba jaba university yeti kuro kaka yan konen MBI no barenye kanka yo university yeti kuro kaka kan manje bokku war do kala Gambia college ban manje no college ye kuru yo makka yo university banu manje ku tichaka di ko bokku wanyam bokku karange mangu mola kamburo ka bol woto di kapana ke ka karanga ko e jaye fuci de juko e baje di kapana ko cila ubi jadi uchepa nye urunga baba manu jom bugal bu bajo bakana kanu manyu ko bi su se fati ara fan ko e modi su ko soli manku bi burok babe banjul wara siri ko do burom urunga buroka boli bo banu manju bobu bajomi woto nye president na bamban kan ngomora kan manyu ko namba ko mekane esa I think the inspector of the parish is
Your Excellency.
Here assembled here. Before then, I believe you're going to have some form of a national anthem before that begins. But let's see how proceedings go on here. But now, as you can see in your screen, so if you're listening to radio, what's happening here now is it is right at the conclusion of the inspection of guard of honor by His Excellency, the President, His Excellency Adama Barrow. And once he gets to his destination, he'll mount the days and then parade will begin. And like I indicated earlier on, the parade is here led by the Gambia Armed Forces marching band, and the Gambia Armed Forces will lead, followed by that is all the detachments of the Gambia Armed Forces, including the Navy. Then you will have the police detachment, the police officers and the PIU, and then that will be followed by the Gambia Immigration Department, and the prison service will follow that, and the fire and rescue services and the Gambia Revenue Authority detachment will follow soon. But after that, we will see the arrival of the Gambia Police Band. They will be leading the march past of school children, and like we heard from the Master of Ceremony, that we will have also a change of Master of Ceremony at the time. The Director of Press, Ami Wujan Sisaho, will take the stage and MC those proceedings where the president will sit and watch school children and volunteer service organizations marching past him, and then he will deliver his speech, and then the parade will conclude with all the security services marching off, and the school children and volunteer service organizations. Abla Cham, fi mu nekk nii àgg nañ.
Ladies and gentlemen, we will now witness troops marching in the following sequence. They will march in slow and will break into quick time, advance in review order, and will fire 3 volleys for joy, to be followed by 3 hearty cheers for His Excellency the President and Commander-in-Chief of the Gambian Forces. And this shall be followed by the national anthem to be played by the Gambia Forces Band before the parade will march off. Parade Commander, sir.
Slow! Arms! Parade will march past in slow and in quick time. In T-shape formation. Advance in review order. By the center. Slow! March!
dana am jamono boo xam ne dañ ko wàcce dana ñëw si dana ko jëm fii si kaw dana am jamono boo xam ne feneen da nga koy téye di dox ak moom dana am jamono boo xam ne feneen da nga koy lem te ko sa dënn bi loolu yëpp nag loolu yëpp ak teraanga la de du ne dañ ko def rek ngir taaral lii waaye loolu yëpp duñ jàng la ndax benn woot commande laay wax kenn ku nekk def loola sali loolu tàggat la waaw dafa am lu mu firnde dafa am lu mu firnde
buñ toogee seetaan Gambia ñu xam ne ñii ñun ñoo leen bàyyi maaj bi waaye ñoom dañ ko beesalaat gën koo rafetal gën koo def mu am melokaani Gambia.
tali Gambia moo dàq maaj Afrique tout yëpp d'accord nañ ci loolu képp ku fi ñëw doon gan boo ñëwee boo seetaanee suñ maaj paas gis nga gan yi fi Alaaji Modou Diouf tudd léegi nii boo ñibbee rek sa xel li muy njëkk a def rek mooy man su ma mënoon a gis njiiti soldat yi nettalil ko li Gambia soldat yi Gambia doon maaje ak seen police ndax lii du may yàlla may la rek dañuy d'accord rek ne may ak yàlla la li nga jàng mën naa am rëq-rëq waaye li yàlla maye amul benn rëq-rëq sali seetal lii rek.
waaw dëgg la xam nga yenn réew yi soo demee ci seen indépendance ay ngànnaay la ñoo génne waaw ay fetel ay aircraft ay hélicoptère bare la ñoo génne di wane ay ngànnaay ñun nag xëy na tolluñ ci ngànnaay yooyu waaw waaye nag li ñu fi angale yi li ñu fi tàggatoon ca jamono jooju Ablaye boobu ami amu doon dama doon ñëw sali ñu tardé boobu ami amu doon field force moo amoon ak police waaw ñoo daan maaj field force jamono jooju boobu leen njàng mi sax soriwut na nga am kattan gi boobu kulus moo fa nekk nga am commande colonel Ndaw Njaay
yaakaar naa ne jigéen amu fa woon
waaw boobu jigéen ñi bari ñoo ci service bi non benn jigéen bi njëkk a ñëw foog naa su ma fàttewul police bu jigéen bi njëkk a solu nekk police bi mooy Ami Njaay su ma fàttewul waaw ci police bi foofu la commencé mooy Ami Njaay yaay waaw foog naa réer na léegi yal na ko yàlla yërëm su ma juumul waaye boobu field force moo amoon field force yi ñoom na nga am kattan nga am taxawaay ñu tàggat la dépôt waaw ñu naan la dépôt mooy fi Bakaw nekk boobu njàngami su na na left right nga jaxasoo waaye dañ daan ne mara buluba wala ñaamoo bero mara mooy càmmoñ mooy left buluba line mara buluba mooy left right ci mara buluba boobu yéen a ñu ne la ñaamoo bero ñu takkal la xeer fii takkal la ñax ci luppa bi pour nga mun a ràññee lim la commande bi RSM bi di wax ne su ne la ñaamoo fi ñax mi nekk mooy càmmooy bero mooy ndeejoor ñaamoo bero muy left right gis nga xam-xam ni ñëwee foofu càmm xam
dox nañ
xam waaw ñoom jànga bi tollu doon comme fi mu nekk nii ñu nekk ci service bi day nekk university graduate waaw waaye xam-xam yi ñu amoon gis nga ni ñoo tàggatee ñaamoo bero maaj bi dox ca la demee nag boobu field force ak police waaw ñoo daan maaj waaw nii la demee woon
ñu am police
waaw police bi yàgg na fi police moom police yàgg na depuis independent police moo fi nekkoon army moo amuloon waaw waaye ñu déglu borom tambour yi ñu déglu tambour yi
Army detachment by the Gambian Navy and now the Republican National Guards followed there by the detachment from the general duties. And behind them too we have the Gambia Police Intervention Unit. Dignitaries shall we rise for the flag as it passes. All those in colors should salute.
So you have to go like this.
Behind the color party is the shall we resume our seats, sir? Thank you. Behind the color party is the Gambia Immigration Department. And they are followed by the Gambia Prison Services, who are also duly followed by the Gambia Fire and Rescue Department. And last but not the least, we have the Gambia Revenue Authority. And gallantly behind them we have the conducting warrant officers with their pay sticks, who are followed by the parade 2IC. That it is a living symbol of discipline that we are witnessing on the parade. Not only that, it is also a unity of command and also signifies the unity of a nation. He has said that here we march, not as different institutions, but as one vision, which is service to the Gambia. Leading the parade is the parade commander, Lieutenant Colonel Ambrose da Costa. And behind him, marching gallantly, is Captain Modujo, the detachment commander of the Gambia National Army Male Detachment. Behind him is the female detachment led by Captain Sirandu Gassama. And here comes the Gambian Navy detachment led by Navy Lieutenant Lalanjai. And the male detachment is led by Navy Lieutenant Aliu. Behind them is the Republican National Guards. The male detachment led by Captain Chibu da Costa. And the female detachment led by Captain Uraju. The Gambia Police Force General Duty Female Detachment is led by Deputy Superintendent Fatou Sanyang. And the male detachment is led by Deputy Superintendent Jane Cho. The Gambia Police Intervention is led by DSP Momodu M. Jallo, and the female detachment is led by DSP Fatou Fai Kujari. And permit me to remind us to stand for the flag and salute accordingly. And we may resume our seats once the flag has passed. This standing and saluting of those in color signifies our respect and benevolence towards the flags and the country in general. The color party is led by Senior Ensign Captain Janaba Sane and Junior Ensign David Lieutenant Seni Jame. The escorts are Staff Sergeant Baji Binta, Sergeant Jallo Fayol, and Petty Officer Fatmara Fofana. The Gambia Immigration Female Detachment is led by DSI Fatu Kamara, and the male detachment is led by DSI Mfansu Baji. The prison services male led by DSP Usman S. Kamara, and the female led by DSP Tida Espiade. Gambia Fire Rescue Services Assistant Divisional Fire Officer Pantanjai and Habibu Saho led the male and female detachments, and the GRA is led by Senior Collector Ismaila Jawara and Senior Collector Aminata Jaji. The conducting warrant officers marching behind them accordingly 002 Sanya Yaya, assisted by 002 Wadi Aguna and 002 Jatamodu. Yeah. Correct twice, he marches gallantly behind them. And the parade adjutant somewhere is Navy Lieutenant Adamajan. The bandmaster melodiously leading the troops is Captain Mahmoud Okoli. And the drum major is Kopul Aisatuyai.
Katuntola diamote kumala no ninyin performance be kering. Abdoulaye Cham yakar naa ne man jamono ji dama bëggoon a teg microphone bi xam naa next recruitment dinaa si bokk loo wax nag.
Your Excellencies, dignified dignitaries here present, I am sure those of us who blinked have missed what had just happened. But don't be surprised, there's more to come.
Son dead out. Pride will form 2 ranks from 3 ranks. Form 2 ranks. Dressing. Inward dress.
Excellency, distinguished invited dignitaries, next on the program we shall witness the fire for joy. But let us please be informed that the firing that is supposed to happen is blanco. That means it is harmless, and thus there is no cause for panic. Thank you for your attention, sir.
Pride will fire for a joy. Officers and callers, take post. Standing, load. Pride, jump.
Sunrise for the fire for joy. The national anthem.
Present.
Okay, amam bange ka fale fire of joy. Ha what?
Present. From the from the right, commence.
Musewo talati moma nyanna kasila katun jura role be keri andu ngaje
ngaje barata ibn mo mu polina tudi mu doki
yalo nying amaka mo warta bake
ha bari
dum fase mo kijo fara ala ma te tara deiri Gambia jan
na ya to la fire of joy wala mu fayrom yanko bu sewo talem atani fayri dol man killing ha yajele
national anthem min kata nyola fana
wala buñate yalo national de nga fay janne ko dualem banko dole kidi keso mi ka fayte wala ta ye kello ke niyolu bota dulalu teita dulalu janita fo ela banko so ndol man tambe wala ha salatul fatiha ta ko ngata wala surwa jalo ka fole ko Gambie xamuñ xex Gambie xamuñ xulo salatul fatiha la jawara mom e Gambia salatul fatiha kilingo wala di jang yajal ninta dawde ko ali ngadwa ben wo ben nisida ali ngadwa wo dua wala bi jang ha wala da nyin keta sewo tati
Three hearty cheers in honor of His Excellency the President and Commander-in-Chief of the Gambia Armed Forces. So,
we remove headdress. Remove headdress.
Your Excellency, sir, if you may kindly come forward to take the three hearty cheers, sir. You are welcome, Your Excellency.
ito tek
e ñaatilinga tela
sa nawole be kosiro kala kote ke ibaje la e singolu iba sabala nyami ni chokodi moy mi mutayta nola
hani maaju fongo ni chokodi mo
ablay ku ci am kuli
President and Commander in Chief
doko mun li kay seet nak fi mu nekk nii fi la ñu wone loyalty ku ànd ak moom gis nga ko dégg nga yuuxoo yi waaw léegi nag comme ni ma waxoon ca buntu bu njëkk ba rek kenn
Pride will replace headdress. Replace headdress.
The three hearty cheers shall be followed by the national anthem.
Slow! National salute! Present!
mankutusum ku wuju ko ni fanaka nyemo mome parade commander Lieutenant Colonel Andrews da Costa omna laanye be bari His Excellency President Adama Barrow be yiseno meti ko kubamban mukana moli tate kumamam be puru di baye mankunyila keti sikerembunges di ku police ku bel monon de jukum nyama momo uyentenora Lieutenant Colonel
in slow and in quick time. Advance in review order. Fire for joy and 3 hearty cheers. May I have your permission to march up the parade, Your Excellency.
te president yaakaar naa jox na ko ndigal mu ngi delu waaw mu ngi delu nga jele parade commander tumalami na tata president o duño ñini pour say toli takele ye niyo kele ko kono litol be fintila ka bayewodi Gambia police ban la ani karam to di ningol min yalon ko le match la hani biya be diam kande ida sojar kangola be diam kan tan ko bunda molli
abe yalon itolu ye kulu nyamin enin tolu civil servantol fatatale civil servanto e kat tarajele ella nyaton koy kuwo do fa ete tara kudo la min bari tolu ye mingo minke ya bondi en santole ni la santon ko koy nin lo nyin dato je mo kana tambe jang hanni wulu fana ta ite tambila ha ha
wala sotoja bare kuma kan kilo ngoy bebe tama ko
wala mi bebe kulurin kuma kile ka mo kilo ngale
immigration ten police ten
but also Allah blessed us with two holy obligations. Fasting the month of Ramadan by the Muslims and Lent by the Christians, showing the uniqueness of our country, known for its peaceful coexistence, interfaith harmony, and in some cases related by blood. Excellencies, distinguished guests, today is a significant day in our calendar. In the early years of nationhood, parents, teachers, various sectors of society get excited to celebrate our independence from British rule. However, many also look forward to the day, and this is manifested by the wonderful parade by our security forces as we just witnessed, but also a reflection of our achievements over the years since we had self-rule in 1965. It was through dialogue, negotiation, that we attained our political independence. To strengthen the unity of purpose through dialogue, as we have also witnessed, we'll be having the march past by students as they do every year. As we are witnessing the wonderful parade, Scout Band is doing a special entertainment, but also a march past leading the schools, athletes from lower to upper to secondary school. Gambia'S Scout Band. They are also followed by their Scout Masters, and the regional artists are also here representing the different regions, some with their trophies to celebrate their achievements from the different regions. It is always a joy for the young ones to be among those identified, to be ones marching past His Excellency the President of the Republic and dignitaries. And the athletes from the different regions are demonstrating that. Right now, they are passing by region, and I just saw region 6 passing from the Upper River region. The independence celebration this year has a significant prelude, which His Excellency President Adama Barrow since 2024 declared 16 February as a National Dialogue Day, when Gambians across all walks of life will come together to dialogue on a given theme to advance peace and development in our country. An initiative based on strengthening harmony among our Gambian citizens and to address our mutual concerns in governance and development. Today, 18th of February 2026, 21 schools have been identified to represent all the schools in the Gambia, from the lower basic to the upper basic and secondary schools. The secondary high schools are all present and represented here at the McCarthy Square. Very soon we will see them march past. The dignitaries, the students from both conventional Western and Islamic religious schools, the madrasas, are part of the 64th celebration. Banjul, as some of the historians would narrate, and the history students, existed before the colonialists came to the island. Upon arrival, it was named Batos. In 1973, 3 years after the Gambia gained a republican status, the city regained its original name, Banjul. as the police band are also leading the march past of the schools. We still, as they march past, we will use the opportunity to recognize dignitaries here present, including the former ministers and former ambassadors. We also recognize the presence of the mayor of Banjul and also a colleague from Yoff, who are all present. We have Mohammedan Lower Basic School. The schools are led by Mr. Musa Mendy, who is a doyen in the education sector, and Mr. Red. They are always there for the children. Muslim High School, followed by St. Joseph's Lower Basic School. Methodist Primary School also follow in their blue and white, and we have Kampama Lower Basic School in blue check and white. Reverend J.C. Fai Memorial Lower Basic School also follows. On days like today, we tend to remember the pioneers who fought for the Gambia to gain its independence. The likes of first President of the Republic, Sir Dawda Kairaba Jawara, Per Njai, Sanjali Bojang, Famara Wasature, among the lot. However, it also reminds us of women who were involved in politics like Mrs. Palmer. We now have Muslim Madrasa School passing, Wesley Primary School, my own alma mater, Albion also, my alma mater, and they're all passing in the green and gray khaki, and the check and khaki green check. We have St. Mary's Lower Basic School in red and white, also with their Gambian flag waving, and they're also among the representatives of the students. Hamza Barak Lower Basic School in green is also here, marching past, and the Royal Presentation School Banjul in blue and white, all well dressed, prepared, the girls in their skirts. And then we have another Arabic school passing by, along with Gambia'S Upper Basic School in gray and white. It reminds us of IB Gambia'S, the pioneers in Gambian politics. Reverend J.C. Fai Memorial School is also in brown and the tie and dye red. St. Joseph's Upper Basic School in blue and white, followed by St. Augustine's Upper Basic in purple and white. I think white is a very prominent color as it represents peace and harmony. It is also important for us to express the importance of unity and peace in our development. Now we're having the senior schools passing, another Reverend J.C. Fai Memorial Senior Secondary School and the Gambia'S Senior Secondary School. We have a lot of girls among them, those who are marching past, and Gambia'S Senior Secondary School, and it is one of our alma maters. I'm sure I've seen some of the students from the school are giving them an applaud, and that is really welcome. And you have St. Augustine's Senior Secondary School. Oh, Mr. Kande is saying it's his alma mater. Okay, and thank you very much, parents, teachers, guidance, and all those who made it possible for the students to come out here today and celebrate with us this memorable day. Ladies and gentlemen, when we talk about women in politics, we always think of women like Ajani Masata Sane Bojang, the first Gambian woman who has been elected in office as a parliamentarian. As we are seeing a group of women also beautifully dressed, and they are also under the leadership of Maimuna Balde, marching to show solidarity. With the beautiful outfit, I think it is beautiful on this day, this sunny but also cool day. As I was trying to explain, women in politics, we remember Ajani Masata Sane, may her soul rest in peace. She was among the dynamic women who led women and gave them the courage. However, we have in our midst also former Speaker of the National Assembly, and we are told that Madam Rena is around. Along with the great women we have had also, among them the former Vice Presidents. We also have Honorable His Excellency Usainu Dabo, along with former Vice President Aja Fatmata Tambajang and Her Excellency Dr. Aissatou Toure. They are all among us celebrating this important day. As we prepare, we will remind ourselves that we are told that also former deputy speakers are around, and it seems that all dignitaries in the Gambia who have currently serving and who have served are here with us and recognize the importance of this day as our national day. The diplomats representing their countries, and we are told that also ministers from African countries are here at a meeting, and they give us the honor of being part of this celebration led by their host, Honorable Ibrahim Asila. The dynamism of our population and resource mobilization and management contributes to the transformation of the country is experiencing. Therefore, having the theme harnessing the human capital and infrastructure resources for an inclusive leap to the future is befitting. After 61 years, definitely we need dialogue to continue, but also it is demonstrating how far we have come. For all of us together, whether you are here present, watching from home, or listening to on any radio station, it is our responsibility to harness our human capital and infrastructure resources for the next generation. Excellencies, distinguished invitees, boys and girls, it is important for us to remind ourselves, especially the young ones, we should not take things for granted. The Gambia has come a long way. Few days ago, the former Minister of Works, at a dialogue, at the National Dialogue, shared with us historic facts, where we are, where we were, and today where we are. He mentioned having one main street, Third Road, and today we are talking about over 800 kilometers of Third Road. We are talking about electricity all over the country. When some 61 years ago did not dream of seeing electricity in their homes, today we are enjoying it, and through the universal access to electricity, almost 90% of rural Gambia have access to electricity, which is worth celebrating. And as we mentioned, development is dynamic, is continuous, and we have to continue to work hard as a nation. As a people, we understand our diversity, but that should be a strength for us, but not to divide us. We may not belong to the same political parties, but we have a single purpose to advance the Gambia in different ways. Wherever we are, wherever we find ourselves, we urge all of us to work together. That doesn't mean that we should be in the same political party or belief system. No, it means that we all belong to Gambia and there is only one Gambia, and as Gambians, we love our country. Therefore, we continue to urge ourselves. That is why, since His Excellency declared 16th of February as a National Dialogue Day, we have taken it upon ourselves to ensure that we go by that. Every year, we come together, choose a theme that is of concern for the current reality, discuss it, share our views, and see how we urge government to continue to work on its development agenda, taking the considerations, the recommendations as part of their considerations for the development of this country. And we are proud that a few days ago, over 300 Gambians sat together among themselves, young and old, students, officials, ordinary citizens, discussing issues of harnessing our human resource capital, but also the infrastructure we have, whether it's road, whether it's electricity, whether it's education, whether it's in the health sector, wherever we are able to. Especially in this day of digital age, we all know that we cannot do without it. So therefore, the Gambia advancing through those structures is a welcome address. At this point, we have been alerted that His Excellency is ready and set to address the nation, especially the school children here present today. On that note, Your Excellency, President Adama Barrow, Commander-in-Chief, and the President of the Republic of the Gambia, we invite you, sir, to come and deliver your address.
Thank you, Your Excellency. The floor is yours.
Your Excellencies, the First Lady Fatouba Barrow and Madam Sajon Balo Barrow, Your Excellency, the Vice President, former Vice Presidents present, my Lord Chief Justice, Honorable Deputy Speaker of the National Assembly, Honorable Members of Cabinet and the National Assembly, Lord Mayors of Banjul and Kanifing municipalities, regional governors and executive coordinators, chairpersons of area councils, members of the diplomatic and consular corps, government officials and service chiefs, religious leaders, distinguished personalities, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, as we commemorate the 61st anniversary of our independence, we are marking much more than the passage of time. Rather, we are celebrating and reflecting deeply and proudly on what independence truly means in practice. Independence is not only a historical milestone, it is a living responsibility that demands vision, discipline, and collective effort from all of us. It embraces the capacity to chart our own development path, harness our own resources, and shape a future anchored in dignity, opportunity, and shared prosperity. This year's theme, harnessing the Gambia's human and infrastructural resources for an inclusive leap to prosperity, captures the very essence of our National Development Plan, IRUA. This plan translates political independence into economic transformation, social inclusion, and national self-belief. IRUA provides the strategic direction for building a resilient economy, strengthening institutions, and ensuring that no Gambian is left behind. 61 years ago, our forebears fought not merely for a flag or an anthem, but for the right to decide our destiny. Their sacrifices laid the foundation for a sovereign Gambia, governed by the will of its people. Today, IRUA stands as a modern expression of that historic struggle. The Gambian-owned blueprint, driven by Gambian priorities and focused squarely on improving the lives and livelihoods of Gambians. Fellow Gambians, in our early years of independence, the guiding philosophy of nation building was grounded in the belief in hard work, resilience, honesty, and collective responsibility. These values taught us to depend on our own strength, work together, and place national interests above individual gain. Today, as our nation matures and our development challenges become more complex, we need to progress through our National Development Plan, IRUA. IRUA, meaning development, implies transforming resilience into strategic planning, hard work into productivity, and collective efforts into inclusive growth. Independence is hollow if it does not deliver results. Under the IRUA framework, we have deliberately focused on the foundations of sovereignty, health, energy, infrastructure, education, food security, and democratic governance, because a nation that cannot power its homes, feed its people, educate its youth, or protect rights cannot fully claim its freedom. Since 2017, and consolidated under IRUA, we have expanded and upgraded health facilities across the country, strengthened service delivery, and invested in human capital so that access to healthcare is no longer a privilege but a right. In the energy sector, the expansion of the national grid and the commissioning of renewable energy projects, including large-scale solar investments, reflect our commitment to energy independence. Climate responsibility and economic competitiveness. Our roads, linking rural farms to urban markets and communities to opportunities, are not merely infrastructure. They are at risk of inclusion and national integration. From the OIC roads to feeder roads across the regions, these investments are reducing isolation, facilitating trade, and opening of new economic opportunities for our people. They symbolize independence that connects rather excludes. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, at the heart of Yirwa is our renewed drive for food self-sufficiency, agricultural modernization, and rural transformation. By supporting farmers with improved inputs, equipment, extension services, market access, we are reclaiming control over our food systems. Additionally, we are reaffirming the principle that a sovereign nation must be able to feed itself. Agriculture does remain central to employment creation, poverty reduction, and national stability. Independence also demands freedom with accountability. Building on the democratic foundation laid by our pioneers, my government has expanded civic space, strengthened institutions, established the National Human Rights Commission, and reaffirmed respect for the rule of law. These measures are essential for consolidating democracy, promoting justice, and ensuring that governance remains responsive to the needs and aspirations of the people. Fellow Gambians, no nation can leap forward without investing in its people. Through Yirwa, education has been repositioned as a strategic pillar of development. The rollout of the competency-based curriculum, reforms in early grade language policy, and the transformation of key institutions into universities delegated to education and civil service excellence are designed to produce skills, values, innovation, and professionalism align with national development priorities. Our youth, who represent the largest share of our population, are not a challenge to be managed, but a resource to be unleashed. Through skills development, entrepreneurship support, digital innovation, targeted youth financing, we are laying the groundwork for a generation that will define Gambian independence in economic terms through enterprise, productivity, creativity, and resilience. Ladies and gentlemen, we admit that challenges persist. Youth unemployment, cost of living pressures, climate shocks, and global economic uncertainties remind us that independence is a journey, not a destination. Yirwa teaches that resilience lies in planning, unity, and discipline. Through national cohesion, social solidarity, and shared sacrifice above politics, ethnicity, or region, we will overcome these challenges. To our civil servants, I reaffirm my government's zero tolerance for corruption, inefficiency, and complacency. Independence requires integrity in public service, efficiency in delivery, and accountability at all levels. We will continue to strengthen systems that ensure public resources serve the public good and deliver value for money. Before I conclude, I wish to express my profound appreciation to the parents, teachers, and especially our children and young people whose enthusiastic participation in today's celebration and colorful march past have added pride, joy, and national spirit to this historic occasion. Your discipline, energy, and patriotism reflect the promise of our future and the values we seek to nurture as a nation. I also extend sincere gratitude to our defense and security services, for their selfless service, professionalism, outstanding participation in this Independence Day anniversary march past. Their unwavering commitment to safeguarding our sovereignty, peace and stability remain a cornerstone of our independence and national development. In conclusion, fellow Gambians, the story of Gambia at 61 is one of renewed confidence and purposeful direction. Through Yirwa, we are converting independence from a historical achievement into a daily reality, measured in better schools, stronger institutions, reliable energy, productive farms, empowered youth, and inclusive growth that touches every community. On behalf of the government and the people of the Gambia, I extend sincere appreciation to our development partners for walking this journey with us, respecting our ownership, aligning with our priorities, and supporting our national vision. As we celebrate today, let us recommit ourselves to the ideals that brought us here: unity, hard work, self-belief, discipline, and love for country. Together, let us continue building a peaceful, prosperous, and resilient Gambia for present and future generations. Happy 61st anniversary. Long live the Gambia. God bless the Gambia. I thank you.
Excellencies, His Lordship, the Chief Justice and team, honorable members, members of the Diplomatic Corps, Mayor of Banjul, and governors and executive coordinators, chairpersons of councils, our Diplomatic Corps, government officials, venerable leaders, distinguished personalities, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. We are urging everyone to remain seated as we allowed His Excellency to shake hands with the invited guests and dignitaries. But before that, we will be having the
Independence anniversary of the Republic of the Gambia. That's on the way or about to conclude at the Makati Square, the historic ground where independence was granted 61 years ago, 1965, when the Gambia was given her right to govern herself. Well, Mr. Juala is with me, and we're going to wrap the program with a look at the president's speech. He mentioned the development plan, the national development plan, which is locally tagged as Yirwa. And he said Yirwa is designed, and in fact it is working towards addressing all the challenges that the country has tasked itself to overcome. And he also said Yirwa has already enabled the country to achieve a lot of developments in education, infrastructure, and stuff like that. But he also emphasized that what brought us here today as a nation, 61 years ago now, is hard work, unity, and love for the country. He said that. Well, of course, he is very proud of his government's record and stripes in the energy and infrastructure sector. Of course, his speech writers definitely did not leave that out, because those are proud moments that he said the government or the country should celebrate. So basically, the message seems to be familiar reflection of what government of the day has been able to achieve in the past year, and the message to the younger people to live up to the challenges and to contribute and to participate as a citizen, to see the country as a collective property in which everybody will play his part. He thanked the security forces as well because of course this kind of ceremony, they are the ones who take the lead in terms of demonstrating the country's culture, the country's diverse diverse culture and diversity. And he also thanked the boys and girls who came from different schools to march under the sun here, and their parents and their teachers. Usually these are the messages that the president sends across each time this is happening. So 61 years, we've just witnessed the ceremony at the McCarthy Square. What is your reflection?
We've listened to the speech of the president, and you have articulated it well over the sectors that you have dissected.
Exactly.
But indeed, it is indeed a good call for national unity, hard work, and as well as making sure that we coexist for our own individual or collective interests as a state. But we've seen also the president bent on the Yiruwa National Development Plan as one of the projections that could help solve the challenges that we are factored on. But what we actually looking at is how does the Yiruwa settle the issue of weak governance? Which we have not seen quite how does Yiruwa in its nature also solve the issue of weak institutions as well. And in his speech he also accepted the fact that youth unemployment and as well as climate change but how do you solve some of these issues? Because youth unemployment have been a problem for former President Jawara, Jammeh, and still continuing up to that issue. So the youth or the young people of this country should also reflect in that dynamics to say what is in for us in the Yiruwa and how does this Yiruwa targets to change our reality as a nation. So we need to look at that deeply, because the amount of young people that we are losing and still the Yiruwa rolling out, then how does it solve the problem? Even if you talk about infrastructure in educational system and other things, what is the human capital development? Because part of the team is the infrastructure and the human capital development.
That's the team this year.
So the team for this year. So what is the investment in human capital development as well is also a very interrogative thing that we need to reflect on as well. And I think the president deeply should answer this question with his people, because like he said, independence is not a destination, but a journey. So the people that fought for independence until today have done their path. So us that are present, what are we doing in guarantee of that infrastructure that we have put in place? How do we sustain those infrastructure? How do we also make sure that the infrastructure that is in also serve the purpose for which it is meant for? If infrastructure and education have advanced so much, we should be seeing these politicians sending their kids to such institutions. But they don't.
Where do they send it? I mean,
so it's just like when Jammeh was telling us we have the best health facilities in the Gambia, but the kids were going to antenatal in the United States. So how much do you mean for that infrastructure as well? So that clinch on President Barrow as well. Of all the infrastructural development, how does this infrastructural development impact directly the life of those young people that he is still seen as a challenge, meaning unsolved, and as well as how are we also using this infrastructure to build climate resilience factors, are we putting all those things into perspective. So it's a good call that he is mentioning what the milestone that he has done, most especially in the energy sector and electricity. But when we talk about the energy sector and electricity, yes, electricity, but what are the plans for water resources?
I see.
Another very complex area, and we have had over time the minister saying, okay, the only way we can solve the water problem is to make it an autonomous body away from NAWEC, the electricity, so that it could thrive, and studies are on the way. So until when?
Yeah.
So those timelines are quite very interesting.
Do you agree with, he mentioned the OIC, how the OIC projects, he particularly used the roads and the feeder roads, and again, as usual, he was very proud of that. I mean, he sees that as things that open up and create economic development opportunities in areas that do not exist.
I think one thing we would remember President Barrow for is the total amount of roads that he has built through that project. If you look at the 50-kilometer roads, in my opinion, like I agree, because some of the roads are quite very strategic, and you could see when those feeder road 50 kilometers start coming, we have seen how other areas have started to take face within the business nature as well. So that's a great effort for his government, and it's undeniable. I don't think anybody will argue that, and this is one thing definitely we would remember him for as a result. So the road project, in my opinion, are quite but however, anytime I look at a political situation, I also look into the quality of the roads. You get the point. Talking about every 1 kilometer, 25 million Gambian dollars, that's a handsome investment. So does that actually worth the quality of road that we are also receiving? Yes. So the effectiveness and efficiency depends on how durable, because if you go to Accra, one of the best roads today are those roads that were built in 1966 by Nkrumah.
Nkrumah style.
Nkrumah 66, and they still stand the test of time in Accra. So we are also looking at the quality of the road, whether they are able to stick the time, the test of time, and we cannot get those answers during his regime. So we remember him when those roads actually fix for that reality.
Interestingly, he doesn't mention election. Maybe because this been a national thing, he's trying to refrain from politicizing this. But he could have a message on election, on how important it is for us to go into there in the same unity, the same spirit of purpose. I found that, or maybe that is out of place in this kind of ceremonies.
It might not entirely be out of place, but if you also technically look at his language calling for national unity, so perhaps that national unity would call factor election as well. But perhaps maybe his advisors or his technocrats at the time think if he address it within election year for at an independent event, which is a state event, might be seen quite out of all. But I think the president also, as head of state, have every responsibility to remind people that we are going into election year, and people should be civil, people should be tolerant, people should accept the dissent, and let the sovereign Gambian decide who would be their president come December 5th. I think that is also something I was expecting for him to echo as a result, because election can be very tense for sub-Saharan countries, and Gambia is not an exception.
Finally, what, if there is any, we need to do as a nation? Because now we have 39 years before we go to the centenary. Well, God willing, of course, people will always be here.
Yes, to witness it.
To witness it. Right. So far, what we have done in terms of what we have surmounted in terms of challenges, and what we have achieved in terms of achievement, put together, and the pace we are going, and maybe the kind of leadership and delivery or non-delivery of the leadership, the three leadership we are having. Do you think it will require, what do you think it will take for a rapid transformation or a rapid ride to reach the height we aspire in our development by the time we hit the centenary?
At the time in which we will hit the centenary,
if you look at 61, that's quite longer than what's left before we get the centenary.
Indeed. Perhaps you think 39 years is a long period, but for me, in governance and development, it is not.
Yeah, because there are people who can sit down here and tell you what happened 40 years ago in a country. They can remember.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. So that's it. So it's a challenge on not President Adama Barrow for me. It's about the next generation of leaders after President Adama Barrow. So of all these difficulties that we are talking about, all this complex global politics, and as a result, I think what we've missed over time is a very qualified and let's say pragmatic leadership. Jawara was a good leader, but he has been good on what does not belong to him.
Okay.
Yeah, when people steal from us, he said, I've forgiven you.
Yeah.
From our own national.
Yeah.
Jammeh was just like a child that is hungry and you give him a cake and he does not know which one to eat and which one to just mash on the body.
Yeah.
So that is how he manage our economy over time. For President Adama Barrow, yes, he's sailing quite good, but not having a good regime around fighting weak governance and as well as corruption. So it is a call for every young Gambian to see that those people that fought in 1965 for us to have this decision have done their path. So moving forward, what do we do? Do we still live on those blame games? Because we've seen Singapore got it right. We got independence the same time.
Yes.
With them.
Jawara likened our programs to Singapore.
Even if you looked at World Bank and IMF action at time of independence during this period, this Bretton Woods institution give equal amount of support to these two countries. While Singapore was projected as a tech hub, Gambia was modeled as an agricultural model for the world.
Absolutely.
But we failed.
We failed along the way.
We failed.
We could have been somewhere
higher than this. And the pace that we are going, yes, once you would say, okay, infrastructure is there, but human resources capacity is becoming a problem. That has been the problem with Jawara. President Jawara had the ideas, but lacked the human resources to fund it. And he is also a problem. Part of that human resources. Jammeh had the human resources, but scared them away.
Okay. Because
he exiled.
Yes.
His attitude exiled most
his
of those
intolerance.
His intolerance did not give people the opportunity
to be able to participate.
Yes. Barrow in the beginning, President Barrow had this up there, but his government also, I would tell you, is a test for intellectuals in this country, and they are not getting it right.
Okay.
They are not getting it right. So now the question is, what do we want as a country? So it remains a challenge to me, to every average Gambian, to look into what we define as our interests and also work towards it.
Exactly.
Yes.
So you have outlined what it will take for the Gambia to get to where we actually want before, by the time we hit the centenary. That will be in 39 plus 20.
Perhaps I'm not very good with my maths, but it's just 39 plus 26, whatever that.
No, 39 plus 61. Okay, we are in 2026
plus. You just add 39 to that.
There. Well,
so whatever that gives us would be
26 plus 39. Definitely will be 57 years time. 2057.
2057. So if 2057 therein, by that time I don't think the challenges that we are talking about now should be a dynamics that we will be talking about even in the next 5 years or 10 years.
Okay.
We should be able to defeat it. If we are unable to do that, and this is across all sectors, in the health sector, even us at the university, what kind of knowledge are we teaching those young people at the university for in the next 5 or 10 years to be able to change the economic reality, the citizens that we deserve? For me, I would always tell people in the political science, we teach critical currency. We want to create critical currencies, which are citizens, so that they can be meticulous on government, they can know when to hold government accountable and how. Yeah, so these are things that we yearn to see, and the young people should champion this. And if we fail not to, then we are also going to have the same explanation that we are today blaming our previous people.
So we pray that when
do it. So
when our children come here in 2059 or in 39 years time, they will be able to recount a better story,
right,
than we are doing now.
Right. When they look at the $10 million loan and they look at the investment, they will not blame us. They will say, "Wow, indeed,
it's worth the trouble.
It worth the trouble." So we can use those sectors and repay those without challenges. But if we put it in our pockets to build infrastructure that will die in the next 20 or 15 years, then we are still in problem.
Wow. And at the Makati Square, the president is busy here shaking hands with all or most of the people who are there before he takes his leave of the place, and then that will be followed by the school children who will disperse to their various schools,
right,
and everybody leaves. Then normally there used to be the sports. I wonder whether in the Ramadan it will happen. It used to be a big occasion, Independence Day sports. I wonder whether it's in the program today, but that's about it in our analysis of the 61st anniversary of our independence here in the studio at Kerfatu Live. My guests have been Lamin Juara. He is graduate research assistant at the University of the Gambia. Lamin, thank you very much for your insightful projections about the Gambia in the past, now, and the future. And we wish you all a great Ramadan, because today being the first day, and if you are also a Christian, a great Lent. We will be back with normal programming. On Saturdays, the brunch, and on Thursdays, Kerfatu, Politic Kacha, and others all will continue within the Ramadan. So stick around for more interesting programs on this channel. Goodbye for now.
Speak the ole nyama apare o nyakili ngole bala o mo sifa asodo ko liatale adu mbe fenkili fole His Excellency President Adama Barrow ay lahi do tanu independent inyanda fenne fola moli inyanda fenne tan la moli mo fo me alon ko aben sambala nyaata mantra mundi la koma lasia independent aya fola ko bangobe be sela kurangote bangobe kela siloti bangobe be miniji senengo sodla bangobe sila kello sodla abi nunta ko na dara ala promise 100% lem nga 90% be sodla
90% sai
so President Barrow alo mu nyaato ta baleti so ani sai sali jiates fana me comment lay la nyaato ngol ya kata bake ye de ko men keteng GRTS
sidula be nyari tilo mambatandi sungaro le mudorong jio de so odol manna o beke so da sungaro nyinna ko baremben do ku nyol fana tentula camera kuru
inshallah sali
ntol ka sile doron ngadiyam
wallahi
minu be tilo kono camera kuru na technician ol
adu mo ju fana kuma do fo jang ako journalist ya amanke ku feari ngot ifangole nyantalo la iba mutala nyame iba patamani la nyame ni nyimbeje mo felendi fo basse mo felendi fo Senegal mo felendi fo dunia ton kon nano bedo aba moy ka membe ke la kan baye nyinto so nallo dulanye ay important tale bake so mfangole salo mba mutaka nyame abe ay menyi ka furu fam majio ne fanjindi ye fam muta yalo be la ko sambala nyame to nyakan ani hormone bunya tumando bije mbela ta nyato tale la mbaso la nyofele so banko president ngani mbar abe tambikan alo na GRDS memena GRDS hani president fango ni ngaje pasona ndeba fole sali
haji hani independent on kayirwa min foten GRDS fana man to koma ko
non
mantara nun jambare ngalon ne wotumo onkul modu ka fo e ka struggle min ke kanyi independent no radio combo e ka wole fonu
sali hakedu ni aje mbe GRDS komen labi nyimbe ngono to community da lumen na ngafo ndela dala insurance of fangole yajo GRDS ngajele barola mitinol be abe ka fundi life lela gambi sara nga GRDS la staffol je be sifa dola je GRDS men de samba pour kata tola bande fangole kam fan samba sango sang ni to for dan katale bari nga GRDS la staffol je kabirim futa da je ngeje yelo nyamenta ila fimu nyale mba ila doku nyale mba imba fempe nyana mangi to ko nyine adu ngebe ile je be tray kan be bori ka be dunka ani hani GRDS la staff don sare sa kon staff be kono ka fo do kulale bakari ani salla nyolu ngejele abla njay nyolu ngebe jele be kata ko camera department reportalu ngejele
director
GRTS mume
yoro jalo nyol bi mume mansi mallo
edito nae editi samira ko anyale bela waya tara be siri ala tabulo kan ngabe ay be na ya kala mutale anala boss mengera njabuti ngado gulal be nimbara so
independent no yirwaja wotumo kaseto le ka record ni programme o banta kayla bar sain GRTS independent no la development no ayati na fo sain abe keri wato min nan ka funtindi wala say mol fangol buka wore ni man tay mo soto wala bela do kudlato wala bela firi dulato e ka GRTS le chundorong yalo mimbe keri mbaye woto janto hani bi His Excellency President Adama Barrow ni mol be ñoo konton kanne om na safore di bukano momo nata kala filani president katu hay Abdoulaye Cham lilu reila gisante president face à face jokko loxo lolu lu reey la
sali cangat weesuut jox loxo président jox loxo serigne bu mag jox loxo ko xamne ni celebrity rek
am na rew yo xamne pour gis sen président
jafena comme ñun niñ toogee ni diakaro président Barrow waxtu nek lolu jafena ci yeneen rew am na rew yo xamne bo fa démé man nga fa dund be nga dé do ma sa gis sen président ya nga dégg jox loxo celebrity cangat la teranga la waaw kana ñun sakku ñu jox loxo ci biti cangat la ki moy Sali Jaaju ki moy Ablaye Thiam hara ma jox ko loxo teranga bu reey la waxuma la président bi nak kon jox président loxo teranga la te mom sakkuñ ko de mom ñom ñoo sakku pour nit ñi jox leen loxo fi la oyof m fi la yek doomu adama m Sali Jaaju
ci sa yu nekk mu ngi wone lu bees lima daan gis moy ne su independent amé
su waxan be pare rek ñu tasaaro
suñ tegee baati réew mi ñu tasaaro waaye tey ak bés bi njëlbeeni fan si weeri koor bi toogaay bi yàgg na naaj bi tàng na ba léegi président
te ci koor lañ nekk
waaw dafa taxaw nuyu wante ñaata pavillon lañ fi am juróom-benni pavillon mu taxaw di nuyu wante ak ñëpp
dëgg la
lu rëy la
Sali loolu yëpp nag am seen rek yaru ak tey ak bugal réew mi bugal sa niti réew yi tamit ci la bokk Sali
mbokay bari mo hani bi kontondiroɓe keeri mbare ngamira ko ñin tembeng mol minutu taje man siya nga jele dina ñatonkolu fana natale nin président e ñoo konton Supreme Islamic Council la ñatonkolu nga Hamadiya Muslim Jamaat la amir je ani alpha kotengol min ya lonko wol fana ben na dino la fannala do ku bunda jamaat le bijang Gambia banko kan dolu bije ibe banko la man sakunda le koto bare do ku bunda dolu bije mi ya lonko e lote e fani dolu e director general le soto dolu e CEO le soto ñin tembe wolla ni president Adama Barrow be ñoo konton kan ali ya lonko 1965 ni bitema director siyata do ku bunda li yurwata andu nga kalamta ko journalist wol fana min ya lonko wolle be marari la kibar janjam bundalla wol fana ñin tembeng inata len president be ñoo konton kan waya yitandele banko alpha man dinkiratu aman sector ni nata development la fanna o fanna be kuma ya talale to nyanka moyle tanko ka moyle jata kendia nka moyle seno bunda bare man sakunda la nyaton kaya ko to sector be kuma ya taen nyin tembeng kontondirole be keri bayri nyemmo tilikilin neti sango kon karitan nin fula tilikilin ngawole soto purum be ka funyoma kansula alfana bijanne ngamira nyinem haji jawarati na kansula mimbe angola banko kanjang atelen Abubakar Jawara la burodati afana ma beta independent no boka fo akoma nak independent Jamal boka fo akoma alfal killing bina kan bayri sawo sansinya kilin nen ka bembe ayo to jang ninga be kering nyin kusifa betiata jele president oni molu senyo konton ka duwanyoye ka nyo hanyindi nyola ka nyo susu banku do ko kan sainteng kabring alfa albanta momorondi miya lonko isingo ye futandino layno to isinano le nim president o e nyo konton sanjita lulu sanjita woro nin killing independent juro nga police ban bula hani bi asententendi.
We have our entrepreneurs also, Ms. Binta Job and Kyo, who are doing wonderful job to promote entrepreneurship in this country. GCCI team, my dear, thank you, permanent secretaries, deputy permanent secretaries, CEOs, they're all around. Dr. Gassama, thank you everybody. We recognize all of you, all the citizens of this country and friends of the Gambia who are with us. We celebrate all of you. We have seen the unionists here, the institution heads, they're all around. Thank you very much. Thank you for the wonderful job you're quietly doing behind the scene. It is appreciated. Whether you know it or not, people appreciate the efforts that are being done. This is how the country moves. Quiet movers and shakers. May God bless all of you. Okay. Former, you have a delegation? Oh, okay. Okay. We have some of the invited guests. Wow, look on. Have well-wishers, citizens of this country from all walks of life who are here queued to make sure that they have a good handshake with His Excellency, including them, religious leaders, politicians, technical people, fans, they are all here. Thank you. Thank you, sir. That's the former Secretary General, who is also here with us, Doctor. Baba. Those are our diasporan friends and citizens who are here with us to celebrate the day. DG, how are you? Thank you. And our MDs are all around. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Assalamu alaikum. Assalamu alaikum. Salam. Ana wake. Jërëjëf. Assalamu alaikum. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. As we said, it is assalamu alaikum. Jërëjëf. Amulen morom jërëjëf. As we always say, it is an opportunity where people who have not come out for a long time in public to also come out because it's a special day. These are people who remember the early days and they appreciate what has happened over time. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Okay, handshake and move, handshake and move, handshake and move. Mr. Cameraman, handshake and move. Thank you. Thank you. Now we have the women who we are matching. The Ajamai team. Okay. Thank you. Jërëjëf amulen morom. Asobi bi tamit nice na torop. Definitely. Taral ngeen bés bi jërëjëf. Nice. Aja, shake hand and move. Shake hand and move. Shake hand and move. Shake hand and move. And we want to thank everybody who made it here today. Those who intend to make it here but they couldn't for one reason or another. We thank everybody. Those who are at home, watching, listening, it is our day. It is the Gambia and it belongs to all. We thank you all. Thank you. We now thank His Excellency and the First Lady and Madam Sajombalo. Thank you for your time to ensure that this handshake took place in an orderly manner. Thank you.
Are you okay with the order?
This live broadcast. Until we come your way another time, on behalf of my team of commentators, we are now handing over back to Mile 7 Studios in Banjul. And
Ja Oil ñoom ñoo jiitu si wàllum jaay essence si biir réew mi te ñu def ko warugal pour kontaan loo suñu client yi borom moto yi ak driver yi seen jaaxare jeex na léegi pour am essence bu baax ak njëg bu yomba lii sax moo tax ñu amal leen banxaas fépp si biir réew mi pour essence bu baax bu set benn place rek la muy Ja Oil soo soxlae essence bu set essence bu baax gasoil wala kérosine naa la wax ne Ja Oil rek mooy jëmukaay ga doxantul rek si bépp banxaasi Ja Oil nga am si bànneex ak Ja Oil seen bànneex mooy suñ taxawaay moo tax ñu amoon leen banxaas bépp si biir réew mi nim gën a yombee pour yow ak suñ liggéeykat yu xarañ yi naa la won ne mbégte rek nga see jël pour am essence bu baax pour say machine fenn place rek la mooy sa Ja Oil ak Ja Oil bànneex kese la moo tax sax suñ station si nekk ca Costa Road ak Banjul wàññil nañ leen njëgi essence bi foofu noonu pour am si lu leer mun ngaa call si 770-8080 322-9070 714-7273 wala 787-1321 Ja Oil, the pride of the nation.
Traveling has never been this simple in the Gambia. Oh yes, you don't need to visit the GTSC depot just to get a ticket. Just download the Yona Wallet app today and enjoy hassle-free bookings. With Yona Wallet, you can buy your GTSC bus ticket right from your phone, anytime, anywhere. From Kanifing to Dakar, Dakar to Banjul, or upcountry routes like Kanifing to Basse and Basse to Banjul, Yona Wallet has you covered. No queues, no stress. Just safe, fast, and convenient ticketing at your fingertips. Choose comfort. Choose convenience. Choose GTSC with Yona Wallet. Yona Wallet. Your money, your way. GTSC. Moving the nation forward. For more information, please call 1124 or 221-1668.
Jamano Money Transfer Bureau de Change, your go-to option when it comes to money transfer. With Jamano, you can send money from anywhere in the world to your family and loved ones in the Gambia and be sure the funds will be delivered to them within the shortest time possible. For your convenience, funds sent through Jamano Money Transfer can be picked from all the banks and multiple other financial institutions, including Ajib Bank, Trust Bank, GT Bank, Mega Bank, Basic Bank, Reliance Financial Services, and Approved Services. Visit our head office at Bruceby opposite AfricMed next to Trust Bank Limited or email us at info@jamanomt.com. You can as well call us on 310-3050 or 310-3051 or yet still 733-0688. Our opening hours are 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Monday to Saturday and 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. on Sunday. Jamano Money Transfer, your most trusted money transfer service where customer satisfaction is paramount. When you think of a simple, fast, and reliable money transfer, think Jamano Money Transfer.
I get it. Albaka.
Mbaka important.
Yo, nga transfer la sto.
Ya transfer la sto.
Ha, code nyenje.
Okay. What's that? Nsila ID soto.
Sorry. I get it.
Bijan bro.
Albaka.
Mbaka.
Bara alla service o tariaka. Mbale ki janna nun kunu bara tariaka.
Jannom yona forest de bureau. Gambia tonkon na no mbali ya bere. Birim koyna fo kato.
Bari si kodo kino kato ni fo bolong blabe.
56 branches mola soto Gambia jang.
Ha?
Gambia kono ani Gambia bantala bankol. Nko kodo kiya bere. Kodo sifa fo falindiro fo nyaadi lafta memmen na kodi topoto nin kodi maraw. Jannom number 1 ti nyonta. Andum fana nata anoda enterprise sotale. Wolam nyindi ko domorol fana kol fana be firale le dadi man domorol ni fana beteat. Gambia dawda yalo ngam fa kendol sotale je.
Wo moyo diat
apelenta
baraka. Ni waka ni na lafta nyelen kendol e bina.
Yalo bu kanila ko la baraka ba.
Yalo ndel chosano lo.
Baraka.